Are you searching for the best in online black radio? Then go to blacktalkradionetwork.com, helping you filter through the noise. Real talk, black talk.
My poem that I'm going to perform today is called I Am Nobody's Nigger, and the inspiration behind that poem was, again, coming back to my early days of when I was writing out frustration when I was a teenager. It's actually just seeing what happened with Stephen Lawrence in the reconstructions that were on TV and all the news that's been happening about it. It felt like it had just happened again, and so for me it really struck a chord. And the night of the conviction and the morning before the sentencing of Stephen Lawrence's killers, I couldn't sleep, and so I was up on Facebook, on Twitter, and I put a status up that is the first line of the poem, and it says, "Rappers, when you use the word nigger, remember that was one of the last words Stephen Lawrence heard, so don't tell me it's a reclaimed word." And that status got about 50 retweets, got about 80 people like it on Facebook, and that showed me that I'd said something that struck a chord with others. The reaction to the poem being online has been really overwhelming, considering I kind of wrote it and recorded it at 6 o'clock on Wednesday morning, and by the end of that day it had 8,000 views on SoundCloud, and I recorded it on the app on my phone, so it's not this high quality recording. It just was straight from my heart. It was literally had been written and I recorded it straight away, and several friends kind of retweeted it and tweeted it to people to see, and then it just kind of like snowballed. People have said to me it's gone viral. I don't know if that's the right term for it, but it's still steadily rising in views. Like at the moment when we're recording this, it's on about 15,500, and so that's doing pretty well, and we've got plans to present it in other forms and do a video for it. So if we do that, I think that might reach even more people, which is fantastic, because I think it's a message that is a positive one, but it's also one to kind of not forget where we've come from, not forget the progress that has been made, and not disrespect it with language such as using the word nigger to describe each other. I just don't think it's ever acceptable. I am nobody's nigger. Rappers, when you use the word nigger, remember that's one of the last words Stephen Lawrence heard, so don't tell me it's a reclaimed word. I am nobody's nigger, so please let my ancestors rest in peace, not turn in their graves in Jamaican plantations or the watery graves of the slave trade. Thrown overboard into the Middle Passage just for insurance claims. They were chained up on a boat, as many as they could manage and stay afloat, stripped of dignity and all hope, awaiting their masters and European names. But the sick and the injured were dead weight to toss, and Lloyd's of London would cover that cost. I am nobody's nigger, so you can tell Wheezy and Drake that they made a mistake. I am nobody's nigger now, so you can tell Kanye and Jigga I am not a nigger in Paris. I'm not a nigger in London. I'm not a nigger in New York. I'm not a nigger in Kingston. I'm not a nigger in Accra or a nigger with attitude in Compton, because I don't want to be called your nigger. How were you raised on Public Enemy and still became your own worst enemy? You killed hip-hop and resurrected headless zombies that can't think for themselves or see where they're going or quench the bloodlust because there's no blood flowing in their hearts, just in the streets. They don't give a damn as long as they're eating. Their hearts ain't beating, they're cold as ice bling, because they would put money over everything. Money over self-respect or self-esteem, or empowering the youth to follow their dreams. Stacking paper because it's greater than love it seems. Call me nigger because you're scared of what brother means. To know that we share something unspeakable. To know that as high as we rise, we are not seen as equal. To know that racism is institutional thinking, and that nigger is the last word you heard before a lynching.
context of white supremacy, Gus T Renegade and Justice in for another program, hopefully to share constructive information on the system of white supremacy. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the broadcast. Today's date, Friday, January the 13th, 2012. So I have been told. As it says in the description, it's supposed to be a compensatory call-in. Many victims over the time that we've been broadcasting have shared that they do not have access to other non-white people who are less confused about white supremacy, racism, what it is and how it works. And so a lot of you all have said that you feel like you miss out on a chance to just bounce ideas off of other non-white people, just to get practice speaking. That's also in the description, to get an opportunity to get comfortable using counter-racist definitions, counter-racist terms, either that you hear other victims making up, Mr. Fuller, Dr. Welsing, Mr. Williams, whomever, Tater Pie, or terms that you've made up yourself, or definitions that you have made up yourself. It is very important to have that dialogue where you can get comfortable so that you feel confident and at ease when you go out in public, especially to use words to deal with white people. So most of this program will not be me talking, although I'm down certainly to share my 2 cents if someone has a question or if they want input. I'm all about that too, but I really want to kind of step aside and give listeners an opportunity to phone in. Do not be intimidated. Not looking to pass judgment. I hope people will not be looking to be in conflict with other victims or fault finding, judging other victims. All of us, we're still learning and just making an effort to do the best we can. And we've all been intensely victimized, something to keep at the forefront. Every single black person in the known universe, victim of white supremacy. Dr. Welsing, she'll be here this Sunday. I think she says consistently, no black person under white supremacy qualifies for mental health. If that's true, any black person that you're dealing with is not in their correct mind. We should have that in mind, and anytime really that you're dealing with non-white people, and just being as patient and dare I say compassionate as possible in dealing with non-white people. With that said, the only thing I will say, kind of to get things off to a start on the program before I check the phone lines, I guess I'll give out the number liberally so people can dial in if they have questions or things they want to share, anything, ideas, if you got a new term, definition that you're working on, if you got your 10 rules that you're trying to codify for what you think needs to be shared with a non-white person. We're all supposed to be working on getting 1,000 non-white people less confused, minimum 1,000. So yeah, anything that you want to try out, strategies for talking with other non-white people, talking to white people, anything, open for people, constructive information. If you've been doing research that you think non-white people should know about, call in, you can share that too. The number to dial is 760-569-7676. And the code is 564-943#. I'll give it out a couple more times as we roll. One thing I did want to do before I hit the phone lines, one thing I'll share. I actually have 2 things. I am going to comment on shadowboxing, but I'll save that for later in the broadcast. One thing I did want to comment on, because someone asked that a couple questions, and I said I'll just answer them on the air. One was about films, and the way they were just asking for suggestions for films that would be constructive to learn about racism, white supremacy, and to possibly use as tools to teach other non-white people about racism, and also maybe some of the things that I look for in films, things that I try to pay attention to when analyzing films and trying to pick out what messages are being sent via films. And I thought I would give out just a few of the things that I look for. This is by no means, a perfect list. I'm sure if you talk to Dr. Martin Kevorkian, admitted white supremacist, or Khalid Patterson, author of You Mean There's Race in My Movie, if you talk to them, they might have different criterion that they will look for, different things that they will kind of keep in the back of their mind going into a film. These are just my two thoughts, and you all can add to it, subtract from it, whatever. I will play a quick sound clip. I think the main thing, Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., I remember one of the first times that I spoke with him, and I said, what are some films that you would recommend, victims look for to study white supremacy? And he said, oh, anything. Just expect the racism to be there. Doesn't matter what kind of film it is, expect the white supremacy to be present. And once you have that in mind, that we are in a system of white supremacy where everything supports the permanent domination of dark peoples, you will be much more in tune with what's happening. Just that right there. Being on the lookout, it's going to be there. Don't be surprised. This is a sound clip from The Good Shepherd. Wow, oh wow. Cowbells all over the place. Good Shepherd, Matt Damon, Robert De Niro, Angelina Jolie, Joe Pesci, quite a few well-known white actors and actresses. Quick sound clip, and then I'll share my two thoughts on things I look for in films, and then we'll hit the phone lines. Context of white supremacy, again, this is from The Good Shepherd.
So when do you boys start your pissing contest?
I'll excuse myself.
Thank you, Philip. Why don't you sit down? You understand that whatever we discuss here doesn't leave this room?
Of course.
We'll eventually get involved in this war, not because we want to, but because we have to and we should. And the president has asked me to look into creating a foreign intelligence service, and if that happens, I'll be looking for patriotic, honorable, bright young men from the right backgrounds to manage the various departments. In other words, no Jews or Negroes and very few Catholics, and that's only because I'm a Catholic. You'd be trained and commissioned in the Army and posted overseas. If it's something you're interested in, you'd have to be ready to leave at a moment's notice. I don't want your answer now. Just think about it. But this isn't a bunch of fraternity boys sitting around playing with their pricks. This is for real. For America.
Okay. I will give two examples with no illustrations. Right? These will just be things you can think about, might be relevant to you, might not. And then the rest, I'll give a few quick illustrations to explain what I'm talking about, and then we'll move forward. Number one, genital references. That's something that I pay attention to. Try to be aware of during films. That could be anything. Kick to the groin, which you just heard in the sound clip about white fraternity males playing with their pricks. Dr. Welsing moment. And the way the clip began. Are we going to have a pissing contest? Genital references, that would be one. The next one, white women. Definitely pay attention, and the reason that I have them, they have a whole separate column to themselves. Often in films, great illustrations of how you have white people, white men who look on the surface like they are in charge. They are the ones that are in control. But if you really look and pay attention, often in films, you will see evidence of the white woman being the one who is really in charge, really setting the pace in terms of what happens. Really pay attention to how that white woman is manipulating events, people in films. Pay attention to how she is getting her ideas enforced, transferred to other people, having other people act out on things that she wants to get done. Really pay attention to that. Moving forward. I'm going to go quick here, share a few things. So if you have something to share, you got maybe 5 minutes. I'm going through this quick and then I'll hit the phone lines. Other things I pay attention to when analyzing films, has this film won awards? I think Precious, you all know, The Color Purple, Gone with the Wind, The Godfather, who's one of Mr. Fuller's favorites, Last King of Scotland. These films Academy Award winners, some of these, getting nominated for 8, 9, 10, 12 Academy Awards, Avatar. When a film gets a lot of nominations or wins a lot of awards, I take it, wow, racist man, racist woman specifically, very powerful white people seem to think that this is an important film. Generally speaking, things that are good for the business, the religion of white supremacy, generally speaking, those are things that white people give their 2 thumbs up to, want to award and recognize, things that are good for their business of white terrorism. So, and all of those films that I just named, Rocky, that's another one that tore the Oscars off. I think got nominated for like 10 Academy Awards. Generally, if you want a list of some of the most racist films, look at the list of films that the Academy Award picks every year. If you want a great list of films to break down racism, go to the Oscar website. It's online, Academy Awards, and you can get a database of all the films that have ever been nominated, all the films that have ever won for all the categories: Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Film, Best Director, all of that. That is a nice database of racist films. In fact, to really hammer this home, go to internetmoviedatabase.com. Go to their website and look at their top 250 films. That is another excellent database of great films. I know people out complain in reviewing counter-racist films, they want quality films. Go look at that list. The top 250, they normally, I think, have hundreds of thousands of people who voted. Some of the films that are on that top 10, extraordinary studies in white supremacy. The Godfather Part 1 and Part 2 is in the top 5 on that Internet Movie Database list. Shawshank Redemption, that's another Mr. Fuller favorite. Inception is in the top 10. Dark Knight, Batman, another one. Some of those films are excellent studies in white supremacy. I would definitely recommend that. What else do I pay attention to? Hair, skin color, facial features of the actors, actresses in films. Very important. Not trying to spend a whole lot of time. You think Precious, the contrast between how the main female actress, the way that she looked and the skin color that she had, as opposed to Paula Patton, cowbells all over the place on Mariah Carey, that sort of thing. Pay attention to that in the film, the role that the people have with certain facial features, if they're lighter complexion, black person, very significant. Patterns. This has come up before. Repetition. Anything where you see either the way black actors, actresses are being treated, things that are happening to them that's repeated either internally within one film, or if this is a pattern across films, pay attention to that. There's a great video on one of the YouTube channels, Mr. F.U.C.K. Hollywood. He has a great YouTube channel, lots of film videos about white supremacy, and he has a video that looks at Martin Scorsese films and a pattern. Look at the pattern of how black people are treated in many of his films, and he's done quite a few that white people love and rave about. Quentin Tarantino, I would say the same thing. Look at some of the things that happen to black people in his films. Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill, Volume 1, Volume 2. Vivica A. Fox, she gets murdered in front of her child by a white woman in Kill Bill. Contrast that, Pulp Fiction, where you have Ving Rhames' character who's sodomized by an enforcement officer. Patterns across films and internally within films. Look for patterns. In Pulp Fiction, you got 2 of the black male characters, and it's not a ton of black people, but 2 of the black male characters in Pulp Fiction die. Pattern right there. Violently. 2 of the other black characters in Pulp Fiction, they are in sexual relationships with white women. Significant patterns. I would also pay attention to the setting of the film. When I say the setting, where is this film supposed to be taking place? And even on a smaller level, where is the film happening? And is it in a house? Is it in a factory? Is it in the kitchen? Just paying attention to as many details about the setting of the film as possible. Some quick examples. The Jerk with Steve Martin came out in the late 70s. There's a scene where he and the Jerk, Steve Martin, is playing a white guy who's been adopted by black people. Steve Martin's character is, a kind of an idiot, as the jerk, as the film's title implies. There is a frame in The Jerk where in the background you can see Sambo's restaurant. From the 70s, they had a lot of these across the area of the world known as the United States. Sambo's, you can see it in the background. Just got to be paying attention. Also, Battle for Los Angeles. Recent film, I think it came out 2011. The setting, and they got white people. They have a lot of these films, sci-fi films, what they call post-apocalyptic films, where white supremacy is kind of in ruin. Things are in chaos and disarray, and either some aliens have taken over, as in Battle Los Angeles, or something, Terminator, robots, another non-white entity has taken over. Pay attention to the setting of these films. They have a lot of these that are set in Los Angeles. I think Demolition Man might be another one, older film. A lot of films in that vein. Mad Max. What else do I pay attention to? What are white people doing in the film? Very important. Focus on ways that white people are manipulating things that are happening in the film. Also, it's just a constant. White people and their lies. You will see white people, that'll generally be a main part of the film. White people's efforts to deceive large numbers of people. Definitely something to pay attention to in films. And how they're manipulating black people. Two quick examples I would give of this Demolition Man film I just mentioned, where you've got white people in the film who are literally programming Wesley Snipes. He's a black male in this case. You got a white man who has literally programmed him to break out of jail and go and kill all these people and do all this stuff so that it'll be blamed on this black guy, but it's really a white person in charge. Got to look out for that sort of thing. That's a pretty constant pattern in films under white supremacy. Another thing, the amount of time white people spend functioning as family members. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this now, but major. You will generally see white people spending a considerable amount of time on whatever their job is, their business is under white supremacy, equal amount of time also being a member of a family. Husbands, wives, children, brothers, relating to other white people in a constructive manner and putting a high value on that. In my opinion, that is the foundation of white supremacy, that white family structure. That's where you got your first teachers on how to function as a racist, from racist man, racist woman, mommy, and daddy. I wouldn't care what film it. If you want to take Inception, a popular one, that's the whole crux of the movie. Leonardo DiCaprio's efforts to get back to his white children so that he can be the white father figure and teach them how to be racist. They've already lost their white racist mother. Got to make sure I'm there. Be a father. The importance of children having their father. Consistent theme in films. Pay attention to the value that white people put on their family structure. Timing of the film's release. Planet of the Apes released in the 1960s, the middle of the so-called civil rights movement. A film like Medea Goes to Jail, released in 2009 during Black History Month. Big Mamas, released during February, so-called Black History Month. Timing of the film. I would say Planet of the Apes, the most recent Rise of the Planet of the Apes, being released the weekend of the so-called UK riots. The weekend that it all started is the weekend Rise of the Planet of the Apes was released. Significant, in my opinion. Next would be things that are symbolic. And this is one where you kind of have to be paying attention. I would say the more that you know, the more that you understand about racism, white supremacy, the more you will catch little codes, I would say, little bits of racist code where racists are trying to relay information, messages to other white people about how they should function as white supremacists in this system. Quick example from the film Friday the 13th. There's a scene, I don't know which one it is. There's a scene where Jason, the murderer, the white mass murderer in these films, he throws an axe and he hits a black male in the back, and the black male is falling forward and he falls on a pile of wood. And as soon as I saw this, I'm cracking up laughing because I said, "Oh, nigger in the wood pile." you'll see a lot of little things like that. Just little, almost like little racist jokes coded in the film. As I said, the one from The Jerk where you got Sambo's restaurant in the background in one of the scenes. There's a scene in Brooklyn's Finest, the caller 720 shared this a while back in Brooklyn's Finest with Don Cheeto and Wesley Snipes, where a black male at the end of the film, they take like a twist tie and put it around his neck and strangle him, where he said that was kind of like a symbolic lynching of a black male, and I thought that was right on the money. It'll be a lot of things like that. Again, the more that you understand about racism, white supremacy, the more these things will stick out. One of the last ones I have, pay attention to the actual actors and actresses, really directors, all of that. If you have the time, maybe go by one of the online sites. You can see the people who are responsible, maybe even some of the people who are behind the camera, who directed this film. We've mentioned some directors already. Who produced this film? What studio put this film out? Go and look at some of that information. Oftentimes that will reveal a lot more information about the film and, the mindset of the people who are most responsible for this film and the final product, the way it looks. Some quick examples, Charlton Heston in Planet of the Apes. The actor is very significant in that role, not just for him being president of the NRA, which, came down the road, but also just his body of work even before Planet of the Apes. A lot of the films that he was in were blatant white supremacy, like Charlton Heston being the personification of white supremacy going to conquer non-white people in a lot of his earlier films, but also his president of the NRA. Another example, Mike Tyson. I just mentioned Hangover Part 2. They have Mike Tyson being kind of minstrel entertainment for a white wedding, a white man marrying a non-white female at the conclusion of Hangover Part 2, and they bring Mike Tyson in for the entertainment. Significant, I thought. Cowbell Ring Again, The Klansman, 1970 film about the book Birth on a Nation, where you got O.J. Simpson as Gus the Renegade. Just extraordinary hindsight with what happened with O.J. Simpson afterwards. Last one I'll mention, Lena Horne. I believe she is the good witch in The Wiz, and I thought that was significant because she is the lightest member of the cast, at least one of the lightest. I believe Lena Horne might have a white parent, and I think she also might have married a white person. Could be wrong on that. Y'all can correct me on that, but I definitely thought it was significant. As I said, facial features, very light complexion, Lena Horne. Last thing I'll say, frequently in films, Crash, it's in a bunch of them. Crash, Last King of Scotland, even The Good Shepherd, they will get you to be emotionally connected to the white people. Even if the white people have been racist, mistreating black people, they will somehow get you emotionally tied to that white person. They will give an opportunity for what I call white redemption. Think Driving Miss Daisy, where a white person has been very racist, overtly racist, cruel even, but they will give this white person an opportunity to kind of get their act together and for us to think of them as a refreshed, rejuvenated, rehabilitated, no longer racist white person. Crash, where the enforcement officer, he has molested Thandie Newton and he saves her life. See? Same thing, like I said, Driving Miss Daisy, where the old white woman, she has reformed her ways. At the end, she's eating pie with Morgan Freeman, and it's supposed to be all good. That sort of thing. Constant theme in these sorts of films where you have the white redemption. It's even in 48 Hours. Nick Nolte, he's called Eddie Murphy all sorts of niggers and spear chuckers and watermelon for the whole film. And then we get to the end, and they're supposed to be best buddies. Constant theme under white supremacy. Those are just some of the things I share. I will hush. Anyone, if you are interested in calling in to share your views, as I said, we want an opportunity to give folks a chance to get comfortable using counter-racist terms, terms you might have made up yourself. Definitely share if you want to offer definitions, new terms, ideas, concepts, anything that you would like to share. Just want to make it available for folks to call in. I realize many people, as I said, have shared that they feel like they don't have non-white people to converse with, so the Cows is open. Feel free. The number to dial in, 760-569-7676, and the code is 564-943#. Number one more time, 760-569-7676. And the code is 564943#. If you are on the TalkShoe line and you want to dial in, if you're on the TalkShoe line and you have something to say, it's *8. If you dial the 760 number, it's *6 if you have something you want to share. Let me check the phone lines here. Wow. That's a lot of folks. Again, this is one of those, thank you. If you called in and you want to listen in, that is great. But, many folks have said that they don't feel like they have the chance to share with other non-white people. So that's great for all the folks listening in, but feel free. You can, anything you would like to share. If you have suggestions, if you have ideas, guests, problems that you've been experiencing and you would like to share, observations, if you've been trying to be more alert and aware of things that are happening around you and you want to share that, if you've been doing research, all of that, feel free, dial in. I think we do have one person I know who is with us. 304 should be there. You can feel free to hop in when you want. And I'll keep an eye out on the switchboard as people call in, see if anyone actually has something that they want to share. Alrighty, seeing hands. All right, so 304 is there, and we also got, I believe this is Blacker dialing in. Blacker, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Good to hear from you, sir. Glad the audiobook worked out.
Oh, good. Yeah, it was good too. Now y'all passed it along to a few other people also.
Right on.
I have a movie, we're going to stick to that for a little while, that came out, not a long time ago, I think early 80s maybe, or late 70s, and it's Animal House. And this scene stuck in my head for a long time, and I was really confused back then as far as picking out racism. But the scene where all the frat brothers with their girlfriends go to it's some kind of club they go to. It's a black club, and it's nothing but black people in there. And I guess they're going to listen to some band that they wanted to hear play. And they have all their white girlfriends, and these 3 black guys coming to them, huge black guys coming to them and ask them if they could dance with their girlfriends. And it's not said, but it's implied that the big black brute wants to take out women and go and rape them. In actuality, they just wanted to dance, and they were, really cordial with the girls and nice, and didn't even touch them. But the whole scene everything is implied. All that black man's going to rape my white woman, all that thing, all that is implied in that scene. And I think a lot of people forgot about that one. It was supposed to be funny. Yeah, of course, it was supposed to be funny, but it was Animal House.
That's interesting. I don't believe I've seen that, but that's in the same vein as like Revenge of the Nerds and those sorts of, I think, Porky's that came out in the 80s. I'll have to make time to check that out.
And a term, it's not my term, and I hope Cree doesn't mind passing it along, but she had a term that she used. I think her and LBM came up with it on one of the programs they were doing. And the term, I think they came up with it on the spot, too. The term is oxyhuman, referring to white men, or white people. Oxyhuman, as in oxymoron, but oxyhuman. A complete contradiction of what it's supposed to be. It made sense to me when I heard it, and I use it often now. But that's Cree's word.
Oxyhuman. Wow, okay. Oxyhuman.
In fact, when we email each other back and forth, we always just use the OH. Sort of, because you don't want to be writing that out all the time. So I guess it's something that we use often.
I see. Wow.
And Cree, if you're listening, I'm giving you all the credit. So
And LBM.
And LBM too. Yeah, that's right. But I heard some. I keep my finger on the pulse of the far right, and that's kind of a strange term too. We'll just go ahead and say the racist. But they have a term. I've been seeing it for maybe a year now, and I'm not sure how long they've been using it. When they're talking about black people, I think black men specifically, they call us groids. Have you ever heard that before?
Yes.
Okay. I guess it's short for Negroid or something like that. I don't know.
Norm Stamper, the former chief of police in Seattle, and he also was an enforcement officer in California. He had a long list of terms that his racist co-workers, fellow enforcement officers would call black people, non-white people, and groids. That was on the list. In addition to spear chucker, nigger, toads. They had a long list. Very colorful list of terms.
I got called something I thought was pretty funny. I didn't find it offensive. I just thought it was funny. By I can't even remember where I was. One of those sites. I was in a chat, and I was called a moon cricket. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes, I have. That's in where it came up on the program. Dr. Joe Fegan, he has a book. It's called Two-Faced Racism, and he has a whole chunk of his book where he talks about like racist jokes and different things that white people say when there are no black people around. And that was on there, that was one of the more elaborate terms that they had for black people, moon cricket.
But I mean, what does that mean though? Because it's not offensive to me at all. I try to picture it and I just don't see anything. I don't see myself as that or anybody, any human as that anyway. What does that mean to you anyway?
Just the crickets, obviously not human. Moon crickets, I think white people, they have a lot of terms that either reference black people as darkness and or that black people only come out at night. So I could see that with the Moon Association. But just the non-human element, they are crickets. I think there was something else too, and I'm trying to remember from the book. There was some further explanation behind what that was supposed to mean or why they were calling black people that sort of thing. I think sometimes they just pick foolishness in their codes, like Canadians. That was another one. Well, they'll just pick something so it'll be coded so that they can say this out publicly and people won't know what they're talking. Well, victims won't know what they're talking about so that they can make these sort of racist comments in a coded manner publicly and not get in trouble, not be identified as racist.
Okay. Well, it was kind of silly to me. It wasn't offensive. The slang they use on Twitter is ninja when they're talking about black people.
I've seen that. Thank you, 909. You reminded me that we shared that on the program this past summer.
Oh, and Cynical Brother said they call us Monday. Oh, yeah, I heard of Monday before, being called Mondays. I've heard that before.
Yep, I've heard that one too. Lots of little codes, tons of them. I mean, white people are, you talk about codification, white people have got that on lock.
But I don't find any of that stuff offensive. I think it's kind of silly that you sit around and make names for people. Well, also, it's telling, too, that you got it so down pat, all you can do is sit around, or all you got to do is sit around and make up names for people, or for a people.
Yeah, I don't take offense by it. I just try to be mindful, like the amount of time that white people invest in coming up with these names and little jokes and ditties and that sort of thing. To me, it just reflects their dedication to racism, white supremacy, and again, the enjoyment factor. That's what I talked about with Dr. Fegan, admitted racist. This, to me, strongly suggests a great deal of fun in practicing white supremacy on the part of white people. I definitely don't take offense, but it just, to me, shows how they will constantly work at refining their ability to be racist so that they can go undetected. A lot of skill, to sit around and think, hey, we could say Canadians. If we call them that, we can be out talking publicly. We can even be talking to a black person and they won't know what we're talking about. Mondays, we say, I've heard it in the context. The first time I heard it explained, it was a white person. They were talking to a black person and they were saying, don't you hate Mondays? And the black person was saying, oh yeah, I hate Mondays. And the white person was just laughing about this. I think they really enjoy, getting undetectable so that they can still get their enjoyment practicing racism and do it so that they go unnoticed by victims. I'm also 80416, last four digits 0416. If you wanted to chime in on anything that Blacker has shared, your line is open, as well as 304. Your line is open too.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking about that same thing in terms of the racist names. The other day I was thinking, it almost makes no sense to get real caught up in the racist names because it seems like based on the conversations lately I've been having, whenever a white person decides to make a racist name, they can take anything and turn it into a racist name. Yep. In the context of white supremacy, I was thinking even the word black, I was saying if black means the bottom of the system and the color, then it would be insane to say I'm black and I'm proud. Because it's almost like it's a derogatory term created by white people.
Well, actually, so it's like, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I was looking at it outside of the context of white supremacy. Black is beautiful. Inside the context of white supremacy, black is the bottom of the slave ship. So to say I'm black and I'm proud is like saying I'm at the bottom of the slave ship and I'm proud. Just thinking about terms and how they've been able to twist everything into a ball of confusion, so to speak, just the terms. I'm like, they can take anything. If you spend too much time on them terms, you will go crazy.
Yeah. They silly, most of them. It's lower brain function. It's not even worth even getting into, actually.
I mean, you say Monday. So what happens when we figure out Monday is a derogatory term? So they turn it to Tuesday, right?
Mm.
And how long before we're back at Monday again? It's madness.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's racist, but I don't know. It's just like I was on Facebook earlier today, and somebody brought up the word niggas, N-I-G-G-A-Z, something, and then people started chiming in, and I came with what is the definition of nigga? Let's put it in context. And it's mostly confused.
Excuse me, but that whole nigga argument is so tired. It ain't nothing else to be said about that word.
Here, let me jump in. I'll tell you what I did. Though. I sound clipped Dr. Cambon's definition of nigga, and I posted it in the Facebook. And I was like, hey, this is what it is. If you can have the power to poison the ocean and, kill babies and this, that, and the other, then, you can poison the world, you was a nigga. Otherwise, you was an imitation nigga. Like that. Now that's just, not his exact definition, but that's what I did. I took his, Dr. Cambon's, I sound clipped it. It was about 6 minutes because it was, very interesting, and I just posted it to that and kind of shut down the whole conversation, and that was my goal.
But in actuality, any group can come up with a concept and build something around it. Like with this concept of the cows, you can start this and build something around it, and it's meaningful and give something meaning. You can breathe meaning into something. Like they breathe meaning, sort of breathe meaning into those supposedly derogatory words. I think we here, the C.O.W.S family, I think we breathe meaning into being codified. into being dignified and carrying ourselves like people, and not allowing us to be, allowing ourselves to stoop to some sort of stereotypical view, of what they think of us. And and that's what I try to keep floating around in my head. I'm going to be something different than what they expect. I'm not going to play into it. Of course, I never have. But I'm just not even going to give them any fuel for anything.
Yeah. And I feel the same way now that I know, because I have played into it completely, just in terms of music, trying to be an attempted rapper. Oh, man. But now that I see it, I say I've always been, not what they said I was supposed to be, but I was playing into, you got to say this and do this in order to get the money.
But what I have come to realize over the years, it's a few black folk that they see, maybe on television or out in public, they'll see doing something really, really just niggerish, and then they just go ahead and just tag every black person with that because it's easy. I ain't got to get to know them because all of them do this and all of them do that. So all of them, is that way. And that's the thing that is most upsetting about the whole racist world, if you will, being tagged as something that you're not. I don't walk around insane. You know what I'm saying? I don't do the things that they would expect uneducated person to do. I've never done that. I wasn't raised that way. But it doesn't matter, because if you show up and you got a black face, well, by osmosis, you a nigga.
Yeah. But that's just it. It's a pathology, right? Because you are a rapist. They say that we're supposed to be rapists for white women, but at the same time, we're the biggest homosexuals. And I'm like, right. How is that possible? I
don't think it really matters. I don't think it really matters what we are, as long as it's negative. Yeah. Go ahead with that one. That'll work.
Exactly, and exactly. You whatever, and because I can't remember either I heard it on the cows or I read it somewhere, and it doesn't matter as long as it makes you crazy or makes the black man crazy or make other people believe that we are that thing. Because at the end of the day, the goal is to exclude you anyway.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what you have. You will be excluded. And so if I can exclude you and make you crazy and make money off of you at the same time, right. So you crazy, you are excluded, and when you do get a little bit of money, you go buy some cigarettes or some alcohol, so I make money and you die slow. So it's like entertainment.
Or we can send the enforcement officials out and we can kill you fast, or we can send them out and have all y'all in great confinement where you're going to make us more money anyway. So I guess we're like a self-perpetual machine. And then we fall into it. The temps that were hired at my job that we hired them for it's just seasonal during the Christmas holiday, and most of them are starting to get let go now. But most of those people were not up on anything other than what mainstream media and pop culture pumps into them, and that's their world, and that's what they know, and nothing else matters, because if you ain't exposed to it, then you ain't gonna miss it. So if everything that's pumped into your head 24 hours a day is nothing but garbage, then of course that's all you can put out to the world is that. I was talking to a young guy the other day. One of the temps I was there, I guess he was about 21. I like to talk to the younger ones. And I was asking him, why is it that he does the thing that he do? Like, why is it that he has a mohawk? Why is it that he wears his pants down low? Just all the all the stuff that's dictated to him. And his response to me was, that's just me. That's what I like. That's what I do. You know, that's just how I am. I said, well, look at the next guy. He's doing the same thing. You tell me he got the same brain wiring as you. And look at the one down there. He's doing the exact same thing, too. So he has the same brain wiring as you also. He said, well, no, you know, it's a style, and you want to be stylish. But where are you getting this from? Where'd you see this? Oh, come on, man. You know how we do. The bottom line was, I was trying to make him see that you're not using your own mind. You're being dictated to. And then just follow a line. You follow a line and you just stay in it. Makes you really easy to be a victim. And everything else, you know, when your head is somewhere else, they can make you do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I sat and I thought a long time about it. I remember I had a blog talk radio show for a while, and I come to the conclusion that you turn off the TV, you turn off the radio, you turn off I think it was one of the guests, the electromagnetic smog, you turn off everything, and you read books, constructive books, for 2 weeks. And when you come back outside, everything should look different. It should be like new goggles.
Right.
But when I had the show, I had people call in, and they were like, man, that's too long to have no TV. You what are you asking me to do? That's like being in prison. And I was like, well, have you been in prison? He was like, yes. I was like, did you have TV?
Yes. I think television is like life support for some people.
I think that's a good example. But you can't.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was saying you can turn it off. I mean, we turned off the television, and now my children, they were kind of sick at first. Or my offspring, they were kind of sick at first, but now they don't even look for it. You know, they actually pick up a book, and you know they'll be reading the book. You know, or they'll play amongst themselves. But you can actually live without that life support system if you do actually turn it off and leave it off. I mean, it's there, but we walk past it. You know,
it ain't hard to do. I rarely turn my television on unless it's something specifically I'm looking for. And you know, I just this is really a different. Because I was raised that way, where my parents only turned the television on maybe right before I went to bed at night, and it was only for like an hour. And on the weekends, it didn't come on at all. So I was kind of raised in a television in a house that didn't have much television playing. But I had friends and family members who the television would stay on whether anybody was watching it or not. It was just like background company or whatever they called it. And you just get so used to it until it's turned off. You feel like a part of you is just gone.
Yeah.
And you can't stand it.
I'll give you an experiment that I did with my children. You can try this too, people listening. Turn the television on, and you know how the people watch television in kind of like a zombie state. You just watching it. If you have your children in front of the TV or people in front of the TV, and while they're watching it, grab the remote control and you turn it off. And it's almost like they'll go into they'll deflate. They're like they're being disconnected. And then when you turn it back on, they'll pop back up. It's kind of like those, you ever driving down the freeway and you'll see someone's having a big sale and they'll have this big air tent that's going up and down on the roof. That's the television. You turn the television off, it's like turning off the blower or the air to that thing, and it'll deflate, and then you turn it back on, and they'll get back up. And you can do this like about 10 times, like without fail, like that. And they'll just keep getting back up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, until finally, if you do it enough times, as soon as your children or your offspring see you grab the remote, they'll just walk out of the room. You know, but that let me know that it was it was something in this thing, in this television, that is connecting to the brain or something. Like there's an imaginary hand that reach out and grab a hold, you know. And
I think it's the
white chip update. Your white chip update.
Yes, definitely.
I wanted to make sure we 304. If you have something you want to add in, your line should be open. Feel free. And for anybody else, if you dialed in, the number is 760-569-7676, and the code is 564-943#. If you're on that line, press *6. If you have a question, *6 if you dial that line. And if you're on the TalkShoe line, it's *8. 304, did you have anything you wanted to add as well? Oh, and I think Pam is in the chat room. Good to see you, Pam. 304, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I'm just listening to the dialogue and thinking about why do we act this way? I was just listening to the dialogue between the gentlemen and thinking about, you know, we all are severely victimized. So it's, you know, even if we don't think we're participating in the system, we are participating in the system. I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't listen to a lot of music. I don't go to a lot of clubs, but I am, you know, I still find myself not always doing the things that I need to do to disconnect from the system.
It's not easy.
And I know a big part of that is fear, because, you know, once you know better, you have to do something about it. So.
Right.
Just for clarity, I just wanted to ask, when you say disconnect from the system, what do you mean when you say disconnect from the system?
I know, right? There is no disconnect. You can't. There's nowhere you can run, nowhere you can hide. There's nothing you can do. So that's not even a valid word to use. So you can't disconnect from the system. When I guess I was trying to say, do the things that need to be done to replace the system of white supremacy with justice.
But is it possible to limit your mistreatment on like a daily basis? I know you eat it, you breathe racism, white supremacy is everywhere around you. But I know I tell my son, when he goes to school, I say, look, your job is to go in, get the information, and come out. And while you're in there, try to limit your mistreatment by paying attention and following directions. Because if you give them any reason to have to discipline you, then that's an opportunity for them to, you know, overtly mistreat you without, you know, and be able to blame it on you. You know, so if you're in class and you're dancing around or you're making noises or slapping the ball out of little Billy hands, you know, then you're giving them an opportunity to mistreat you. So maybe you can lessen your mistreatment. You can't unplug, because where are you going to go? But maybe today, you know, today my son won't get a referral for some madness. Perfect example, he slapped the ball out of the little boy's hand. The little white boy told him, hey, hit the ball. My son hit the ball. The white boy picked up the ball and threw the ball at my son and hit him in the back. Then the other kid said, hey, little black boy hit the ball. So then the teacher comes, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be doing this. You know, so my son got tricked into hitting the ball. Then he got hit in the back with the ball. Then he got yelled at by the white lady. And I said, hey, man, you see where this was incorrect. If the white boy tell you to pull his finger or hit the ball, ignore him. So we can't unplug from the system, but he could have, avoided that situation by not hitting the ball. Not unplugged, not disconnected, but he was more mistreated today than he could have been.
I find myself in that situation sometimes at work. I feel like I get led into conversations or whatever, and then, the response that I give is exactly what the person was looking for in the first place, and then they can say, see, told you, she's militant, or, she's not a team player, or,
You have some examples, like you don't have to give specifics, but some examples of how white people have used words on your job to kind of manipulate you into a dialogue so that they could practice racism or mock you, mistreat you in some way?
Just off the top of my head, I was thinking about a conversation I had about Thanksgiving, and, most people know I don't celebrate Thanksgiving, and then, my rating official continuously asked me questions about what I did for Thanksgiving. How was your Thanksgiving? And, I'm trying not to respond and keep the conversation to a minimum, but eventually I did say I don't celebrate Thanksgiving, which he already knew. But then he goes, well, why? Why don't you celebrate Thanksgiving? And I said, I don't celebrate genocide. Then, oh my gosh, that opened up a can of worms. What? Why do you say that? Am I responsible for what my ancestors did? And I'm just looking like, oh my God, it happened again. And I'm just sitting there like, I don't have anything else to say. I don't have anything else to say. And thankfully somebody else came up and, took his attention away. But, man, I was like, I should have just not said anything.
Is there a word for that in the code book?
A word for what specifically?
White people pulling you into a conversation that you don't want to be in. Same way, the white boy told my son, hit the ball. The trap.
I'm not thinking of a term right off the top. I had to think about it. If anyone out there, if you think of one, let us know. I'm thinking of codification with that holiday thing, because I know that pops up for a lot of victims. One of the things that I've noted, and that I've heard this from other victims that they've used it and it worked, to say, I'm Jehovah's Witness. Grew up Jehovah's Witness, and we didn't celebrate any of those. And that has stopped white people, permanently. Once they find that out, they don't even bring the issue up anymore. And it doesn't require a lot of dialogue. I don't know how people, how the people would feel about that. I guess you would be being deceptive if you're not a so-called Jehovah's Witness. But I have heard that works well for diffusing that whole line of questioning around how is your so-called holiday.
We was going through this whole thing about Thanksgiving and Christmas and the celebration of it. And, people ask you, what are you doing for the holidays? And, just tell them I don't celebrate it. And I wasn't getting too much static about that. But, when you tell them that you don't celebrate these things, or Christmas in particular, the next thing that comes out of their mouth is you don't believe in God. And I don't know how those two get together, but it's kind of hard for people to understand why someone would celebrate a holiday that's so American, and not realizing that most of the holidays are just wrapped around pain and grief for a lot of people. Thanksgiving is a good example, and Christmas really means nothing. I mean, Even if you are a Christian, Christmas means nothing. And we run around and you do all the shopping stuff. I mean, what does it actually mean? No, I don't celebrate Christmas, and that's just the bottom line. We don't have to get into it. I'm the type of person who I have a hard time biting my tongue. So I'm just telling them, we should probably just leave that alone because I don't celebrate, and that's all we need to know.
I think we told we didn't celebrate either. We took the tree. We threw out the tree a while ago, a few years ago. We say, when people say, how was your holiday, or how was your Christmas, or how was your Thanksgiving, we use it was well as possible.
Mm-hmm.
It was well as possible. What do you do? Well, we were together as a family. We were together.
Well, my general comeback is always, how was anything? How was your weekend? How was this? How was that? Mine is always, it was quiet. And that's generally how it is. It's quiet. Too fast. Back at work too soon. And keep it moving. You don't want to get into this discussion with me.
Yeah.
But I have while I'm thinking about it, I have another movie that I saw. When I first saw it, I didn't see the racism in it. And now that I think about it, and I'm looking at it here on the screen, 300 was severely racist. You had 300 white men who historically were homosexual from that where they were from, who beat damn near the whole world, and everybody in the whole world was either black or of some kind of non-white origin. And these 300 men, they beat every last one of them, and they couldn't bring nothing that they couldn't defend against. 300 was severely racist.
And
crazy.
Super homosexual.
Yeah, definitely homosexual. Matter of fact, they made the biggest homosexual in the movie, where it was, like I said, it was mostly just suggested, was Xerxes, that 7 foot, whatever he was.
Non-white male.
Of course, they didn't say it. Yeah, non-white. They didn't say it, but it's implied. And of course, we know those Spartans were homosexual. That's in everything they do.
I see you got another hand. They have any comments, but yeah, 300, super homosexual film. Person who called in, last 4 digits 5407. Your line should be open. 5407. Your line should be open.
Peace to Gus and all the listeners. This is B More. I just wanted to make a comment. Would it be correct or incorrect when a person asks you how your holiday is to reply, just another day under the system of white supremacy?
Sounds accurate.
All they're going to do is lead you into some more discussion with that one.
Yeah, you're right.
You say if a white person is asking, or if a less confused victim is asking?
Either or, you're supposed to remain the same.
When you say remain the same, what do you mean?
By remain the same, I mean in a sense, I don't change the way I speak because I'm speaking to a non-white person or a white person. I feel like if you're going to talk codified, you should talk that way all the time. Is that correct or incorrect?
I guess we can get feedback from everybody. I've just noted for myself, I do make differences if I'm talking to a white person or if I'm talking to a non-white person. If I'm talking to a non-white person, I have a lot more patience because I recognize that I'm talking to a victim. If I'm talking to a non-white person, And depending on what we're talking about. If we're saying we're talking about racism, if I'm talking to a non-white person, I will probably make some concessions to them being confused, and I will try to adjust what I'm saying to try to meet them where they are at their confusion. Like I've noted, some non-white people, they are very uncomfortable about white supremacy. Like just the term makes them uncomfortable. So I will make adjustments and just say racism, just, so that we can have dialogue and they will at least hear what I'm saying. They won't block me out totally. If I'm talking to a white person, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to do that unless they have something that I want. But generally speaking, I'm not going to do that for a white person. I'm going to stick and use white supremacy. There's some other concessions that I'll make around words and trying to accommodate. If it's I'll just put it this way, I tend to be a lot more accommodating if it's a non-white person, because I'll assume that they are confused. I'll see. What are other folks, if you all have comments, are you all the same when you talk to white people, non-white people? Do you change things?
Well, personally, me, I try my best not to talk to anybody. But that's just the person I am. When I'm talking to white people, it's really, and like Gus said, if they have something I want or some service I need, I tend to do a little more talking to them. Black people, I tend to, I don't know how to say this without making it sound, understanding. I try to tend to be more understanding in my talking and try to give them a whole lot more room than I would any other person, any other type of people. Basically, because 9 times out of 10 they'll be confused, and I have no patience actually, and so that's why I tend not to talk to people too often, because my patience is like 0. So white people, I tend to get what I need and try to move on as quickly as I can. Black people, I try to talk to them and give information out as much as possible without making the situation more confusing. Because black people, like Gus said, black people are really hesitant, and they get real strange when you start talking about white supremacy. Because they just don't want to believe that it especially in the area that I live in, they don't want to believe that it exists, because their neighbor on both sides of them are white. They figure they made it, so they don't want to hear it 9 times out of 10.
I see a hand from Pam. Her line is open as well. Pam, your line is open. I definitely want to stay on this for a second, though. Thoughts on people in codification of your language and words when you talk about racism. Do you stay the same when you talk to white people and non-white people, or do you make adjustments? Pam, your line should be open, too.
Okay.
All right, well, in terms of talking to white people, I do not talk to white people. I don't talk to many people, but I'm not around them except for when I go to the elementary school, and I don't talk to them, and they don't talk to me, other than, say, the teacher or the principal, or if I need something, then I'm aware of the C.O.W.S, the context of white supremacy, and I try to get us codified, but the way that I'm talking to you now, this is about it all the way around. I try to stay short, not give up too much information, ask questions rather than making a lot of statements, but that's when it comes to those white people. When it comes to non-white people, I need to practice on my codification. I make sure that I don't talk too much, but I need to do better. But then I've been kind of practicing that for 25 years now anyway, just trying to stay out of confusing situations. But now that I have a better context of what's going on with the racism, I know why I'm trying to stay out of confusion now. So I try to pick my words carefully, but I don't talk to white people, and when I talk to everybody else, I try to speak carefully and, not get into any confusing situation with the words.
I'm going to mute myself. I'll be on mute for like the next 20 minutes unless I have a question or just to announce if people call in, and I'll give out the number right now so I can stay silent. The number to dial in, 760-569-7676, and the code is 564-943#. If you have a question and you dial that line, press *6. If you have a question or if you want to speak up. If you're on the talk to you line, it's *8. What I was going to say, I'm just reflecting on my own conduct. I do not remain, I'll say this, I change frequently, regardless if I'm talking to a white person or non-white person. What I'm thinking is I'm trying to get the best result. Whatever it is I'm trying to accomplish, if I'm trying to get information, if I'm trying to solve a problem, if I'm trying to get something done, I just want to accomplish that. And I use words that will best help me accomplish that goal. So if that means talking to a white person and not saying white supremacy, I will do that. And I've done that on the program. I'm thinking Robert Dvorak, who wrote that book about Jeffrey Dahmer. I didn't say white supremacy at all, and it was planned. Because I really did not want I didn't want the possibility of him becoming defensive because he's a white person, being defensive and not giving up information. I just wanted to bleed him for as much information as possible about Dahmer, and then I could connect the dots to white supremacy afterwards. So if you listen to that program, I don't say white supremacy at all. And I've done that with other guests where we've had them on the program, and I've never said white supremacy if they're white people, just if it's in order to accomplish an objective. So I say, yeah, I switch up. I kind of make my evaluation based on what I'm trying to accomplish in each individual person that I'm talking to, because I've noted that sometimes things will not go the way that I want if I say white supremacy. Like, I'm just concerned with the end result that I get what I wanted at the end of the day. What words will best help me accomplish that objective? And I'll mute my line. Everybody else, you should be good.
Well, I tell you what, I listen to the cows, and I sure would like to get to the point where Gus is when it comes to talking to white people. I
think that's all of us. I find that, I think once you get an understanding of exactly the world that you live in, I don't think it's really constructive to be talking to too many people anyway. Well, I'll speak for myself. For me, it's not. Because like I said, I have very little patience, if any at all. And I have no patience for mess around with white folks, except at work where I have to do it. But when I'm off the clock, I just would rather not speak unless I'm talking to a black person about something constructive and moving them forward. I talk to a lot of black folks about depression, which I think is my mission here on this planet. But other than that, because I don't really hang out a lot, and I'm not really up on a lot of pop culture stuff, so I really ain't got much to say to most people, unless it's something dealing with something moving forward, something positive, something constructive. Because I don't care about about whatever, what's popular. So I think once you get an understanding, you'll tend to not talk as much. For me, anyway.
No, yeah, I know. I had to make a phone call to some people yesterday, and I practiced silence. Can you do this? And they said no. I said, are you sure you cannot do that? Then I was silent, and she was like, hello? I said, do you have the power to make it happen? And then she couldn't do it, but I asked like 4 questions, and I was very silent, and she broke the silence. And I know that listening to the show, you got that silence. And sometimes that's necessary, so I try to practice that. recently I'm trying to implement that in the question asking. But, you know, I don't talk to that many people, but when I do talk, people usually call me. They usually call me and try to pick my brain for information on, you know, the different fields that I'm in. You know, they want to know how to do things, and, you know, usually when I say I need a fee of $165, they'll be like, okay, I'm done talking to you.
But yeah, if there's any, and like I said, I'm just the type of person, it's just best for me not to do too much talking about, just, you know, idle chit-chat and stuff. It gets you in trouble. It's just best. Well, it gets me in trouble, so it's best for me to just not do it. Because like I said, I have a hard time biting my tongue, so I put my headphones on when I'm in public, and that's that.
Yeah.
Pam, you should be there. Pam, any thoughts? 304?
I'm doing a lot of listening, mostly just listening. I did have a question for the rest of the listeners out there. Do you find yourself, it sounds like you're saying this, but I'm just asking, less sociable since you've been tending to become less confused? Or was that just a part of your personality in general anyway?
Could you repeat that last part? I cut out for a second.
What I meant was, do you find yourself less social than you used to be? In other words, okay, I'll phrase it differently. Were you more social when you were more confused? You know, more sociable, more more likely to want to be around people, more likely to engage in casual conversation when you were more confused?
Definitely.
I was
it's pretty strange to me.
Huh?
Go ahead, Gus.
I was pretty antisocial beforehand. Yeah, I didn't really like people that much beforehand, and studying racism has only made it exponentially worse. So, yeah, I think I said before, I hate everybody. That's what racism has done. Everybody sucks. The person who's...
Do you see that as a problem? Do you see the less social, social inclination as a problem or as a necessity?
Oh, a necessity.
I see it as, unfortunately, and I put that in bold print, it is unfortunate because it would be so much more helpful to have constructive relationships and to have more contact with people. But because of the toxicity and the anti-blackness, because it's so strong among non-white people, I think for me it has been helpful to have reduced contact with everyone pretty much. Because I see that in myself, I see it in us. It's so thoroughly ingrained, the degree to which we do not like other non-white people / worship white people, that it's just very difficult to have, for me, I'm just speaking for myself, it's very difficult to have sustained, constructive contact with victims, and under these conditions, I would prefer to be less. It's no time to be celebrating on the plantation. And I'll leave it there. Yeah. The other two people that called in, somebody's on Skype, your line should be open, and the person from a block number, your line should be open as well.
Let me just say this, Pam. I practice a golden rule, and it's one that Mr. Fuller that I got from Mr. Fuller, and it's really, really easy, and it's perfect. You limit contact to limit conflict, and that's what I live by.
Right. I actually make that statement a lot, and that is, minimize contact, minimize conflict. Yeah.
Yeah, I was not non-social, but before I learned about the system and what it was or what it is, I practiced what I had a PhD in stay out the way, right? and I relabeled that no contact, no conflict. But because I was in music and entrepreneur and selling clothes and things like that, I felt like I had to go out and I had to talk to people because I was the salesperson and the behind the brand and everything, and I thought that's what I needed to do. But even while I was out there, I was telling myself, this is madness. And all the conversations that I would have usually ended in not confusion, but it didn't go where I needed it to go. So that's one of the reasons I will keep saying, why is this happening? Why when I talk to a store owner do we go into this direction? Why when I talk to someone at a booth or a table at an event, it goes into this direction? Why? And ultimately asking why, and that led me to the cows. But now that we're here and I'm less confused, I talk to people now. Seems like the conversation always goes into, this is racist, right? It's like, because it's everywhere, and then that person will say something, and then I'll say, well, that's racist. That's a trick that's being played on you, or, I think of something that came from the show, or I think of a show, or one of these, one of the videos that I might have seen or something like that. So the conversation now, because this is pretty much on my mind constantly, all the time. Racism, white supremacy. So if I'm talking to a victim and we're just in public or something like that, it'll go there. Like, I'll talk to my mother and she's like, I don't want to hear about that. So I'm talking like that. But I am still social, but most of the time I'm social because people call me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I wish it was a way to be more social, because we need to be able to communicate with the victims, but I guess
I used to be very social, very social at work, at home. Now it's like none of that. I keep my MP3 player charged at work and try to keep it on as much as possible. I used to listen to the cows and hear Gus say, "Oh, I hate everybody." I used to be like, "Oh my gosh, he's so hard on himself." And I understand now. It's like, no, yeah, the level of toxicity, even mine. If I can't help somebody, I don't want to harm them. So yeah, I'm toxic. So the best thing for me is to just, stay to myself.
And it is true. Once you come into a realization of what's going on around you, you do isolate yourself, because you see through all the garbage and you just can't take it no more. Well, for me, for me, when you see through all of it and you just can't take it anymore. Me being raised in it, well, I was raised in a pro-black household, but it wasn't like you would think. It's not like how we talking right now. It was just a proud to be black person. It wasn't necessarily talking about white supremacy, because it was in D.C. and it was nothing but black people around all the time. So white people never really came up in as far as conversation. But once I got out of that, I realized I was also brain trash severely. But once you come into a realization, you can't help but to migrate away from all of it. Like I said, you see it as nothing but trash, and you don't want to be a part of it. You can't be a part of it. You have an obligation.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
I can hear.
Greetings. All right. If you ask me if I think that it's a good idea for black people to be antisocial, and I'm if you mean by
Not hearing you, 909. Not hearing you.
While we're waiting for 909. You know, I find that now that I understand why people don't talk to me when I walk down the street or, you know, come out of the school or I'm in the mall, you know, I find I'm not as irritated. You know, well, you're just doing your job. You know, if I'm in the store or something and I look at somebody and I say good day and they roll their eyes at me, I'm saying, okay, great, you're doing your job. If I see another black male and I say hey or good day or good evening and he look at me like I'm like, you're doing your job. Before I would have been, what are you doing? Is it me? You know, I think it was 909 that was talking a couple episodes that I heard ago. Well, you know, I'm listening to the archive, but he was like, I lost my thought. But it's just, I'm less confused now. I can understand why people don't talk to me when I'm out. Sometimes I'll use the good day, good evening, good morning, and they'll just look me up and down like, you know, you're not there. You didn't say anything to me. Don't talk to me. You suck. You know, that's what I would have taken it personal before, but I don't take it personal anymore.
Great. 909?
It does. Sensitivity, too. Yeah, it's something.
909, are you there? 909. While we're waiting on him, the person that called in from Skype, I saw you there as well. Did you want to share anything on the questions, I guess, that have been asked so far?
Yes, greetings. Can I be heard?
Yes, sir. How do you want to be referenced? And if I may ask, where are you calling from?
I'm actually calling from New Orleans, and my name is Kofi.
I know. Good to hear from you.
Yes, and it's interesting listening to the conversation because I was, I was thinking that like I was starting to feel alone. Like I'm growing so antisocial, you know, and a lot of people around me keeps telling me that I'm all into this racism stuff, talking about this racism stuff, you know, and yeah, it's troubling. I actually lost a relationship because of this, you know, and yeah, it has really affected my life. Becoming more aware of racism, white supremacy.
If you don't mind sharing, if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. That's the rule for everybody. Anything you don't feel comfortable answering, just, you know, hey, I'm a victim. I don't feel like responding to that right now. No questions asked. If you think it would be constructive, would you be okay sharing some details about what happened with the relationship that you lost when you became more informed about white supremacy?
Yeah, I can share a little. Well, basically, my partner in the relationship, like I kind of withdrew from like a lot of like public things, like going to the movies. I stopped that totally. Like parties, like really kind of stopped that. Clubs, no clubs. And yeah, you know, and she didn't really like that, you know, and like I started listening to the C.O.W.S. I mean, that kind of blew her mind, you know, like you know, why would you want to sit home and listen to an internet radio show talking about racism? But that's pretty much the response I get from a lot of people when I tell them to listen to the cows. It's like a radio show on the internet talking about racism, white supremacy. Yeah, a lot of folks are not even comfortable saying the word white supremacy, you know. Like, that's just my general observation.
Yeah.
Can I be heard?
Yes, you can. And the person who dialed in from Texas, your line is open too. I'm sorry, 909. Caller from Texas, your line is open to 909. Please continue.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say I was back. So, and, yeah, I had like a kind of little emergency, so. But, yeah, the Texas can go ahead.
Hello, can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Okay, before I actually studied Religion of Supremacy, I had this unconscious desire to please everybody. Like if someone were upset at any part of my presence, then I would take offense to it, especially from white people. And I noticed that they had nicknames for me like Smiley, and especially that's white people would call me Smiley a lot, you know, and they would, you know, joke with me and talk to me all the time, and I just decided I started wondering if the fact that I felt anxious all the time could be because of racism. I guess there is something about spirit that leads you in the direction of what you need to find, but my first time hearing the cows, Gus, and especially Justice was laying into C.O.W.S. And C.O.W.S. was one of my idols. I'm like, how is this little girl laying into C.O.W.S. like that? I actually had to turn the program off during the middle of it. But over time, I started listening more to the show, and I started to understand, and I started to read. I found out about Dr. Wells and I bought Lily Fuller's book. And the more I studied, the more I started to understand it. And it's to the point now that when I go out, I sit by myself, and I just sit and observe the public. And I found that was helpful for me, but I'm no longer anxious around white folks, and they no longer call me Smiley because I don't smile very much anymore. They see something different in my face, and they hear something different in my voice. So their words to me are not as long as they used to be. But I appreciate finding this program. It cleared up a lot of confusion.
Picking up some background noise. It's a lot of people on the line, so if you can be careful, make sure you're in a quiet environment. If you're not, if you can use your mute button. If you're not speaking, that would be outstanding. I'm going to mute my line. The caller in Texas, thank you so much for sharing that. Everybody that's, dialed in and shared, thank you. The caller in Texas, it just reminded me that's in Pam's book where she has a black male character who gets teased on the job and called Smiley. That's patterns, right? Same thing. White people, they got a script. All their little names and things that they do to us, straight script, racist code. Am I making this up? This is in the book, right, Pam? The nickname Smiley?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And it's very common, and I think we can all testify to seeing a certain pattern of behavior among black males, and black males more predominantly than I see it in black females, and that is the attempt to appear harmless. And all that comes about is that programming from the media that shows that likable black men are always smiling and grinning and never angry, or the clowning, and also the reality that black men who are serious are seen as a threat. And so, it's black men are discouraged from being serious and being, dignified and serious. They're encouraged and rewarded for being silly. So I think white people, some Sir Anton can attest to that. I think he's online. That they feel more comfortable around black men. They can just say black women are being bitchy, or that we're just angry. We're no real threat, but they are threatened by black men who are serious because their thinking is that if that black man is not smiling at me, what is he thinking? Is he thinking about doing something about mistreatment?
Yeah. I'd like to chime in on something. I was trying to think of something that 909 had said something, and I forgot what he said, but he said something that made me think. He said that he gave an analogy about liking a girl, and the girl didn't like him, and he said that he would, would change the way he looked, or he'd change his hair, or he would do this, or he would do that, and nothing that he did, the girl would like him, but it was just a situation where it was nothing that he could do. I don't know if you remember that analogy, but I said, that was me. I go out and I try to I have a goal in mind. I'm trying to accomplish a goal, and no matter what I do for these particular people, they just wouldn't understand it. They would look at me like I was crazy, and I would be like, well, it must be me. Maybe if I change my smile, or change the way I talk, or change the way I walk, or change the clothes that I have on, or this, that, and the other, maybe then I could make this sale. But I could never make the sale. And after becoming less confused, I just came to the conclusion that it's not what I look like. I mean, it's not what I'm wearing. It's not that I am bald or have long hair or short hair or this, that, the other. Is that when I said this, that I'm classified as black, and as long as I'm classified as black, they have to exclude me. So, just in terms of understanding, I'm just going back to the fact that understanding what's going on. I don't need to have a whole lot of people around me. I don't need to have a whole lot of conversation. And I can sit alone, too, and watch what's going on. Because a friend of mine, we decided to call that the robot. They'll have you doing the robot until you die. If you if you think you can change the way you dress, or the way you cut your hair, or change your shoes, it doesn't matter. Stop doing the robot, since I've been less confused.
Can I be heard?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that girl, she liked me at when I finished. I mean, you know what I'm saying? She became. She began to like me for sure. She probably liked me from the start, but yeah, she loved me a lot. And what I was saying is that that's not what you're gonna get from white people. You feel what I'm saying? Like you know what I mean? That's the difference. People, we think that they're the same as other people, but they're not. Nothing you're gonna do is gonna get them to like you. You feel what I'm saying? They don't like you from the start. There's nothing you can do. See, I think she liked me from the start, but she just had her methods on changing me for her complete liking. You know what I mean? She got what she wanted. But what I was saying is, because I want to make this point, is that when Pam asked, if you'd have asked me, do I think that I would have been described, anybody you ask in my family, I was antisocial from day one, from birth. But then they'll that was my nickname, and it was said often. But now they say I'm less that way. And it's funny how people describe your behaviors when you don't know that you're behaving in that way. I thought to myself, like, when did I become Mr. Nice Guy? Because I'm hearing these comments, and before it was, why you so antisocial? Why you disappear during family functions and whatnot? But now I'm hearing different comments, like, you sure have changed, and, you stick around more and things like that. So I think that it is a good idea to, limit your contact and all of that. But I'm saying that right now, just the fact that I changed the way I did, if you were to ask me, do I think it's, more constructive, I would say that it's more constructive to be around people. People change, and people change just with my presence there. Groups of people change with my presence, and I notice it, and people have said that, and they say that that's why they want me around and whatnot. So, we're gonna have to find a way. I think but all my life, antisocial, didn't like anybody. I still don't like people, but I know that I can make a difference and I can affect people. So I pick and choose my points, and I go be around them, and I'm codified, and I'm observant of my surroundings and myself. If I start feeling anxious, things like that, I'm observing the situation or people, how they get along, the conversation. I'm just trying to input all that data, and I think it's because, studying racism, white supremacy, it's changed my ability to process information. And I have tools that I use to, I've been using tools all along. So it's not something that just, happened. I've been working, and then now I'm seeing and hearing the results of what I've been doing. So I think what we're going to have to do, especially if, like Gus said, you're trying to get to 1,000 people, you ain't going to get to 1,000 people, you know what I mean, when you're not around people.
Well, at least you guys answered one question, and that is why people resist becoming less confused, is just what you mentioned. They have to, if they accept the information, then they accept the responsibility for change. And so they accept the responsibility and the feelings that come from feeling alienated, from being different, from not being able to go along with the program. So I think that's one reason because sometimes I talk to people and I know they understand some of what I'm saying, and I know it, but they avoid it because they don't want to feel the way all of us probably have felt at one time or another, and that's alienated. So I think that's the reason a lot of people avoid becoming more knowledgeable about white supremacy, not because they're stupid, not because they're not capable of understanding it. They don't want to understand it. And some of it's fear, too.
A lot of it's fear of white people.
And it's a habit. It's automatic. It's not like they're thinking about it. It's not like they're processing the information. They're just, it's automatic for them to be fearful. And when you're in fear, it's like flight. They just run away from it.
I know in my case, whatever I was afraid of, I was ignorant of. And by informing myself and educating myself about what I'm afraid of, the less afraid I became. And, today in my office, on the break, I was sitting at my desk reading the ISIS papers, and my white boss comes over and says, "Oh, the keys to the colors. It's not one of my kind of books, is it?" And I looked at him and said, "It just might be," and went back to my reading. And I do know that a year or two ago, I would have been terrified and tried to hide the cover rather than continue what I was doing. I'm not afraid of their reaction to me anymore because I understand it. And I think a lot of us we stay fearful because we're afraid to reach an understanding on certain things. There are many reasons that could be, but I know in my case, when I try to talk to people and get them to see the things that they're afraid of, they cut the conversation short change the subject, or for instance, I was at my uncle's house for New Year's, and in the family room, there was about 20 people in there watching Medea's Christmas. And I had in my hands, waiting for the movie to end, we were going to watch Tariq Nasheed's Hidden Colors. And after Medea was over, I put Hidden Colors on, and half the room left. I was surprised that 10 people stayed in, but half the room refused to watch Hidden Colors, but they were all over Medea's Christmas. So I understand we have a long way to go, but in my personal case, the more I understand, the less fearful I am, and I just refuse to live. I just refuse to live a life of fear.
Can I say we have to make things more? Everybody has a talent. Mr. Fuller, he'll make you laugh. You know what I mean? And I think sometimes you have to be able to describe things differently. Many ways of describing the same thing. And I think understanding what racism, white supremacy is, how it works, the fact that we in a war can make you smile and laugh a lot, and you will be learning. And it's probably a good way to learn, because I've studied some things on learning where you get rewards, like a tablespoon of honey when you learn something, because it does something in the body. And I think we're gonna have to start describing what is happening. So that's gonna come along, I hope. But it does something to the body where the body gets that information as a good thing on many different levels. The signals are saying this is sweet.
It helps to have, I'm in an attempted marriage. Should I say I have an attempted wife? Is that the correct word? If you have somebody at home to talk to that understands and willing to learn with you, it helps for me, because I'm not in corporate America. I don't go to a white building and have to deal with white people. But she tells me all kind of stuff that people inside these buildings do. Like, they won't say the word black, they'll rub their skin. The whole 3 black people standing together and got to break up. She say that, all of the admins, I guess that would have been the secretary, they're all like heavy-set black women that work for, funny-looking white men, and they refuse. I mean, they'll come in and say, I didn't get a raise, or my boss is getting a new job and they're not taking me, and I don't understand why. And my wife is like, what do I do? She's like, she's looking this person in the eye, and she's trying to tell them that you're a mammy, and they keep you around for entertainment, but they won't listen to the information. And I'm like, if I was in this building, I don't know how you guys do it, because I'm like at home.
You gotta do it.
I don't know how y'all do it. In the building, locked up with them.
Yeah, man. But if it's black people up in there, that's how white people get down, man. I'm telling you, they take over. And if you in a building and there's black people in there and you codify, you're gonna have to explain to them what is happening if they're confused. That's what you're there for. I mean, that whole scenario is like the perfect scenario. It's like that's where we, if we're in those positions, man, we should feel lucky, because you can get at some of them people up in there, some of the non-white people, and explain to them what's going on, the behaviors that you are observing. You can tell them, and they're observing the same thing, but they just don't know they can't process the information. So you can tell them, especially because they love to talk, so they're going to come up to you and bring some issue up to you. So then you can tell them, like, yeah, I observed that too. This is how I kind of recognize that.
Yeah, and you're right on, because she'll call me and she'll tell me a scenario, and then she'll ask me, have I heard something on the show, or have I seen something where she can use this to help give some information to this person, and she'll tell them, and then the person often will act like they're down with the information or they're getting the information, but the next day it's like they're right back in the building like the brand new person, like they went home, got some programming, the programming knocked out that information that just kind of got into their head, and they're right back, yes sir, no sir, right away sir.
To be expected under these conditions. I just want to throw in really quick. That's what domination looks like. When we were talking before about television, if you leave work and go home and watch V or whatever other television programming and get your daily update for your white chip, it can easily dislodge. I've seen that happen a ton, where a non-white person will be agreeing, yes, white supremacy, and then you see them a day later, it's like they've been totally brain trash. You got to start from scratch. And this is exponentially worse if the non-white person is having sex with a white person. Man, it's like they got instant brain erasure. Like it's amazing to see this. At any rate, I also wanted to, the point that I think 909 made about having fun practicing racism. I had a sound clip I was going to throw in. This is Melissa Harris Perry. I'm trying to see if we can get her to be a guest on the program. Non-white female. She wrote a book about racism. Professor. She was on the Colbert Show on Comedy Central. And it's just terroristic, trashy behavior. I wanted to play it and get folks, get their thoughts. I also wanted to give out the disclaimer. I've heard Mr. Williams do it on the Counter-Racism Radio Network. Any advice that you all hear about what to do on the job to deal with racism, white supremacy, definitely take at your own risk. You definitely, that is, your source of income or what have you. Things could go very bad on the job, as he's caller shared, Dr. Trav. Non-white people can bank on remission. It's very likely to happen, and that could include going to work with white people and working against you. So just disclaimer, I feel like it's important to give that out. You definitely want to be confident and certain about what you're doing, because white people can and often do inflict a lot of damage on non-white people. I think some victims can even attest to the fact that they became more informed about racism, and it changed their demeanor, and just based on that, white people decided to not employ them any longer. So just keep that in mind, although I definitely love the challenge of taking it as a part of your counter-racist mission to inform other black people that you work with. This is a quick sound clip, Melissa Harris Perry. We can get you all's thoughts on that and then continue with the dialogue, context of white supremacy.
Stereotypes of black women in America. I'm sorry, blah women in America. Please welcome Melissa Harris Perry. Hey, nice to meet you. Thanks so much for coming on. Absolutely. Okay, madame, you are professor of political science at Tulane. You have a new show on MSNBC.
Not till Black History Month.
Not till Black History Month? Do you get to go beyond Black History Month?
Yeah, maybe into March, which is Women's History Month.
Oh, so, and you're both of those?
Both.
I don't see race. Are you an African American?
Most days.
Most days,
yes.
Okay. Here's my problem with talking about race. Doesn't it divide us by talking about our race?
You know, I do think that experiencing racism tends to be a worse experience than actually talking about racism or race. So as a college professor, I feel like talking always brings us closer to understanding rather than dividing us. It can be tough. It can be a little nauseating. We don't always have the right vocabulary to talk across our differences. But the talking is always better than the ignoring.
That could be a great tagline for your show. It can be tough, a little nauseating.
Indeed.
Now, you've got a brand new book. It's called Sister Citizen, Shame, Stereotypes, and Black Women in America. What do you mean about shame and stereotypes? Well, what are the stereotypes you're talking about of black women in America?
Well, so there are 4 that I look at. The Jezebel, that's the kind of hypersexual black woman, the idea that African-American women aren't in control of their fertility, that they just have babies by lots of different men all the time. There's the mammy stereotype that was on display quite recently with, for example, the Help film.
Great movie, based on a true story. Go ahead.
And then...
I'm just telling you, I'm not making this stuff up. Go ahead.
Right. And then there's the angry black woman, that kind of irrationally angry all the time, at any moment just might snap. Yeah, that one. Yes.
Yes.
That black woman.
Tell it.
Yes.
Yes. What's she called?
Sapphire.
Sapphire. Wow.
Yes.
That's sparkly. Now, of these 3 stereotypes, Jezebel, Mammy, or Sapphire, which one are you?
Yes.
Because I like to pigeonhole my guests as much as possible.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm actually that 4th stereotype, which is the strong black woman. And in fact, the strong black woman is the one that African-American women ourselves created. We borrowed a little bit from a lot of these stereotypes, but the fact is, even though we've self-created her, she can be just as painful, just as problematic. This idea that we are inherently strong, basically born with the capacity to kick adversity's butt just because we are black and women.
It seems like a lot of the burden, and I know nothing about black people, but if I could generalize as if I did, it seems like the woman in the black community takes the great burden for the absence of the black male.
I think we want to be careful about, because that notion of like the strong, I know.
I don't wish to be careful about anything here.
But black men are actually not absent in this way.
They're gone. They're none. They're like the Yeti.
No, I have one.
There's like a History Channel show, like Finding Bigfoot.
Yes, Finding the Black Man. Where was it? Yes, one is even living in the White House at the moment.
Yes, I heard that.
Yes.
So how can there be? I don't judge. Maybe he's black. Maybe he's not. But if we do have an African American president, we have an African American first lady.
We do.
Doesn't that shatter the stereotypes?
I guess I would say that no, she doesn't shatter them, but she does challenge them. But of course, she's challenging them at the same time that, for example, we're holding up the Help. So we have simultaneously a challenging figure in the person of Michelle Obama as First Lady, and we have these reinforcing stereotypes in our culture.
It's a historical document.
It is not.
It is.
No.
That's how it once was.
It was
a simpler time.
Jim Crow was never like big fun in the kitchen.
In some ways, don't all women face stereotypes?
All women face stereotypes, and the point of this isn't to say that there's no oppression Olympics. There's no one group where things are so much worse. But
who would win if there was? Who would win?
Let me just suggest this, that the real point of the book isn't that there are these bad things that these other folks are doing to African American women. The real point of the book is that it matters how we feel about ourselves, that African American women's internal life experiences are part of the American story. So when we're listening, for example, to the GOP rhetoric about this nostalgia of this America when things were simpler and better, you can never tell that story if you bother to think about African American women's experience, because there's no moment in American history where it is nostalgic and better to have been a little black girl. And so what we do is we put black women's stories at the center of the American story, and all of a sudden the American story takes on a very, very different resonance and trajectory.
You're trying to depress me. Because I think about something bad happening to a little black girl.
Yes.
I get very, very sad. And then I feel guilty.
Oh.
Okay? And that is, I don't know if you're familiar with this term, that's called the white man's burden. Are you familiar with that term?
I do know that term.
That's your next book. Thank you so much, Melissa Harris Perry. The book is Sister Citizen. We'll be right back. Thank you.
Context of white supremacy. Black of your line should be open. If you dialed in on the 760 line, *6 if you have questions or comments. If you're on the talk shoe line, it's *8. I hope that was not a waste of time. If you thought it was a waste of time, you can share that too. That way I will ask permission before playing sound clips on a call-in program. Did anyone have thoughts about the clips? Anything revealing about white supremacy?
Yeah, the lady she'll soon have her own show on MSNBC. I've watched her in the past for different events that have taken place. They went to her for a commentary, and I think she's really safe, and she's kind of to me. I think white people look at her as being she's just not like them blacks. She's kind of like semi-black to them, and she's really safe. And she proved that on here. But you can't really take this clip seriously because it was on a comedy show, and he didn't really give any, or maybe he did give honest answers or ask honest questions. But I think they see her as really safe and not to be feared. And I think she's going to be really accommodating to those to the audience of MSNBC.
I think she made some great points. I think, man, I really like that clip, and yeah.
No, we're not hearing you. I'm not sure if he dropped out for a moment, if he's still there. Anybody else had any comments on the sound clip? If we don't want to talk about that, we can get back to what we were talking about.
Yeah, I got a comment. Two things. One, I don't understand why, if you are a serious person, why would you go on a comedy show to try to get your opinion across? Kind of like, maybe, I understand that he has millions of viewers and you want to get the word out and you want to market and promote your thing, but I can't understand why, if you're a serious person, why would you go there? Why would you go on to Howard Stern and you're a serious person and he's going to be throwing bricks at you the whole time you're there? That's what I think about that guy's show. Secondly, prior to being less confused, I would not have saw that as being racist. It would have just been comedy to me. Oh, look at the white man. He's making jokes. But now this is one of the reasons why I don't watch television, because everything is there. She goes on to the show whether she's a safe black person or a, I guess, unsafe black person for the Comedy Central. I'm like, it's always there. Why do you have to clown her? Why you got to get your clown on? Why? And then I didn't see the clip, but maybe she probably had a serious face, and then they always try to suck you in to some sort of response where they want to do like a sumo flip or a wrestling move and get you down on the mat and have you looking stupid, and a lot of times people bite. But when I started looking into the system, I see somebody like a Khalid Muhammad. He wouldn't let, the white host get him into that situation, because he would always, make sure that he didn't get caught up in the wrestling move, that verbal, I'm going to clown you. He couldn't be clowned, So I'm like...
And now he's dead.
That's what I'm saying, though. It's like, it's madness. It's just always there. It's even if you like go out to, you're watching a commercial, a football commercial, where they're in the parking lot doing the tailgate. They need to kick a ball, and bam, the black dude get hit in the ball, hit in the face with the ball. Even just the little things. It just reminds me of why I turned off the television in the first place. Once I got less confused, I just couldn't watch us get clowned like that anymore. It's just madness.
I think, like Gus said, you guys heard me, but I said that I thought that was an excellent clip, and she made some good points. And I think, like Gus said, there is a how to watch television, how to watch movies, how to read books, how to search the net, how to. And, and my thing is, okay, she's sending a message. What is her message? her message was she's doing a show, and the text, what she said, just listening to what she said, I don't know if I'll check it out, but I'm sure people will check out that show she's going to do and get some information, because she was making she was making some good points, which was the message she was trying to send. So I think that when you watch things like that, we have to say what message is the author or whatnot is sending to me, and that's the grammar, that's the text. Like what did she say?
Yeah, but it's a lot of confusion in there to try to sift through. If you're not less confused, you more confused, you're gonna miss that whole situation. It's comedy, it's funny, and probably I don't know what her show is gonna be like. I doubt if it's gonna be like the cows,
She's pretty pale. Oh, I'm sorry. Is that 304? Is that you? Or is it a female voice? I just heard a female voice. But she is pretty pale. Oh, go ahead.
Pam.
Go ahead, Pam.
I was just agreeing with him that her show would not be like cows.
She's pretty pale. That was my only 2 cents. If you've seen her, she is not. She's a very light complexion, non-white person. I don't know if she has a white parent or not, but yeah, I'm not quite sure what safe means. We're supposed to be being precise with words, so I'm not really certain what a safe black person does that is different from what a non-safe black person does. If Blacker doesn't want to explain that, Sir Anton, your line is open.
I didn't. I'm sorry. I thought that was just up in the air. Well, what I think of when I think of a safe black person, trying to look at it from their view, somebody who's not gonna say something that I would say, they're not gonna do anything that I would do. And they're not going to put the channel or the station that they're on in any kind of jeopardy. They're going to follow the line, or they're going to toe the line. You just do as they're told. They're not going to not going to make any waves. They're going to be a good black person.
I think in the system of racism, white supremacy, a safe black person is a dead black person.
Meaning that if you are alive and black, you are unsafe?
Absolutely.
Well, then that don't really make much sense, because there's a lot of black people that do a lot of stuff that ain't safe and still alive.
I didn't understand that, what you said.
There's a lot of black people that do stuff that's not safe, that don't toe the line and still live to old age. So I don't, you would think that Dr. Ben would be dead right now, and he's in his 90s. You would think, well, Dr. Clark is dead, but he lived into his 90s, I do believe. And we had Miss Camille Yarbrough on the other night, and she's getting up in age, and I don't think she's safe, and she's still kicking. Mr. Fuller, Dr. Wilson, Dr. Cambon, I don't think any of those black folks are safe. They won't get employed by MSNBC, but they aren't safe.
It's been my observation that if a black person that talks like a Dr. Ben or a Dr. Welsing or Dr. Cambon is able to keep the attention of large, super large numbers of people, then those are the ones that get dealt with in a violent manner. I believe Muhammad Ali was silenced, to be honest. They love him now that he can't talk, but when he was still talking, I believe he was silenced. And when people get a little too big and they decide to start spitting the message, then they got to go. So Dr. Ben, Dr. Welsing, Mr. Fuller, these people reach small numbers of people, which is why I believe Mr. Fuller said that the next step has to be united independent, so that there's a large number of people who understand racism and white supremacy, but too numerable to stop the progress of defeating the system and replacing it with a system of justice. If they can create a single person to hold all of the energy and then knock them off and destroy the movement, then that history has proven that to not be effective for achieving justice. So,
if I can attempt to clarify, I don't know if this is going to help, but when I said a safe black person is a dead black person in a system of racism and white supremacy, I just the point I was trying to make is that I feel like white people don't look at any black person as safe. Not a one, as long as they're alive. They're a potential threat.
Yeah. I will chime in on that. According to Kenneth O'Reilly in the book Racial Matters, every black person has a flag. Just depending on what you do, whether that flag is going to get, investigated or not. Just reading that book.
I used to think that I was just one black person. Why is anybody going to worry about me? Until my eyes were opened. I'm pretty sure that my employer is listening to this right now. I'm pretty sure.
Or act like he is.
Certain. But for a long time I was in denial because I thought I'm just one black person. Who am I? Why would anybody want to check on me, see what I'm doing? But every black person is a threat in the system of white supremacy.
I agree with you. I think it's because white people know we're at war and black people don't know it. So if you're at war with a population, then of course that population is enemy combatant. Just depends on what they're doing to threaten your system. If they're not threatening your system, you might deal with them differently. But they know that they're at war with us. We just don't know it.
Sir Anton, your line is open as well. Did you have anything you wanted to add in, sir?
Greetings. Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Great program, very constructive. I don't really have anything in regards to what we're talking about right now. I just wanted to share a few things, if you don't mind.
Proceed.
One would be, I believe it's the caller in Louisiana. I believe. I just wanted to let him know, stay strong, because I was in the same situation this time last year. I was with a partner. I was becoming less confused. Things were not clicking. I changed it drastically. So it didn't work out, and we ended up going our separate ways. So I just wanted to let him know, just stay strong and just stay constructive in your thoughts, speech, and action, and the right person will come along. I don't want to say I can guarantee it, but I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that person will come along, because it happened to me. I remember talking to Fuller, and I was like, okay, I lost everything. You know what I mean? Like, just based off of my understanding and putting, making my thought, speech, and action more constructive, I pretty much lost everything from my partner, my job, like all of that. So it's like, I'm like, what do I do now? And he was like, just remain constructive and things will work out. And now things are just going my way. I have a partner that understands the system of racism, white supremacy, and I'm working on getting a job right now. So everything is working out. So I just wanted to let him know, I understand what you're going through. Just stay strong, and that the correct person will come into your life in due time. I also wanted to ask the callers for some advice on a codified response to what I dealt with today on an interview. I was having an interview today with Racist Man, and he said to me towards the end, he said, okay, so should I even bother having you fill out the background check paperwork? You didn't move here from Boston because there's a warrant out for your arrest, right? Now, when I heard that, I wasn't surprised, but at the time I just didn't have a response because I've never heard something like that in regards to just I don't know. I guess I was just stunned at the moment. I wasn't surprised, but I was just kind of stunned, and I didn't really have anything codified to say to that. So I wanted to know if anyone had a suggestion, just in case that happens again.
My initial thought, this is not constructive. I'm not giving this out as advice. I just, my non-codified first thought in terms of what I would say in response to that, if it was not a job interview, just how racist mind works. If he said that, it would be a question. Is raping white women a crime? And just crack up laughing to see what he said.
No, that's not constructive. Wow, what a question.
I'm a little more hardcore than Gus. The first thing in my mouth would have been a curse word. But I'm angry and I don't know how to act, so you can't.
I would say, man, if someone, in that situation, I would say, you could answer the question. He asked you a question. The simplest answer would have been, the truth. No. Or, if you were running, I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you answer the question however you feel like it would benefit you. That's what I would say. And I would say just in a general way, honesty is the best. Just be honest. Somebody pose a question to you, answer it. Now, you might not have been able to answer the part about, should he go ahead and do a background check. I mean, that's his decision. But the part as far as you being having a warrant out for your arrest, the answer is probably no.
I just can't imagine him asking that question of a white male, dressed for a job interview, dressed in a, decently for a job interview. I'm trying to imagine him asking a white male that question.
He would ask him a racist question. He would give him a racist joke and see if he would laugh about it. These job interviews are just like that. They deal with people in different ways. If he was a white male, he would have probably said something racist and seen out what the response was. That would have been his little test or whatnot. This is what they do.
I ended up just answering his question. I just said, no, and I just kept it moving. But yeah, it was just tacky behavior, just tacky.
Like I say, I don't know how y'all do it, because I'm not that codified. I mean, I wouldn't have did a turn over the table, but, I'd have been like, what? He'd have seen it on my face. What?
I mean, the question is, do you want to be more codified? Do you think that response? I mean, that's what I would want to. That's just what I'm curious about.
Well, I would say for me, I would say no, just given the fact that I'm attempting to find employment, so it just being codified in at that moment in time wouldn't have gotten me the greatest results or the best results. So I would just have to say the best thing I did was just answer the question.
I think Pam has pointed this out before about being clear about what codification means. My understanding of codification, it is supposed to produce the best result every time for you as a non-white person, the best possible result every time. That's what that's supposed to be the essence of codification, unless I've been missing it. That's what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Why'd you say that, Gus? I'm not clear on the context.
Because I think, sir, unless I didn't hear him correctly, I think Sir Anton said at that moment he didn't think it would be best to be codified because he's trying to get a job. He's on an interview. Is that what you said, Sir Anton, or did I not hear you correctly?
Well, basically, I was saying I just wanted to answer the question because I felt like if I were to not in a sense be codified, but like respond, like just respond incorrectly, I felt as though it wouldn't have gotten me the best results had I not had I been codified, but had I, gotten upset or said something smart alecky or what have you, that wouldn't have gotten me the best results.
And you're right, it wouldn't have. It's a tough situation. I mean, you're going to this man to get something that you need, which is a job. It's not a social situation. It's not that easy to just decide you're going to be one thing or the other. You're going to it's just like you're going to the store and asking for food because you're hungry. Are you going to really quibble with the person that's over the counter that has the food that you need? You need medical service. You're injured. Are you really going to quibble with the doctor that you need to sew you up? So it's one of those situations where there is no. I don't think there's any one right answer. I don't think it's. I think at the time you have to just do the best that you can. And just chalk it up to, it's not a reflection of you, it's a reflection of him, and it's all part of white supremacy. It's just white supremacy. Don't take it personally, because it's not about you. You didn't ask the stupid question. You didn't ask the racist question. I just feel like I have to learn how not to take on other people's ignorance and make it mine. In other words, I'm not responsible for other people being ignorant. I'm not responsible for white people being racist. I'm not responsible for anybody else's behavior but my own. So you did what you thought was the best thing. Don't doubt yourself. Don't beat yourself up about it. You went to him for something that you needed. And he was in a position to give it to you or to deny it to you. That puts you in a vulnerable position.
Gus, I got your point. It was a good point. I'm not sure if he said that or not, because he didn't. I don't think he answered the question of whether he did or didn't. But yeah, we don't want to get those concepts confused. Being codified is doing the best thing, that you can, for the best result. That's what being codified is. Being codified is not getting upset and telling people off, this, that, and the other. So, yeah, that was a great point, and I hope, just wanted to reiterate that.
Sometimes I wonder if sometimes I wonder, what would Mr. Fuller say? And I wonder if what he would, that might be a good question to ask him, Sir Anton, next time Mr. Fuller's on. Describe the situation to him, and just to see, what his response would be. I bet it'd be an interesting one.
I might bet lunch he would say, just answer the question. If I had to take a wager on what I think his response would be, answer the question. You went there to get a job, answer the question. Like, you did not go there to tell him off and give him your views and this, that, and the other. You went to get a job, do the best thing possible to get the job. He asked the question, answer the question.
Right. So this instance was just another illustration of how they practice racism on non-white people.
The whole thing is just making you feel inadequate. I mean, that's the whole premise of white supremacy, is to make non-white people, make black people feel that there's something wrong with them. That's where they derive their power from. So yeah, they're going to keep making us feel that way, because to do otherwise is to destroy their own, to dismantle the system. The whole system is based on black people being inferior. And if that's true, then I have to treat you like you're inferior. And I have to make you have to prove over and over and over and over again that you're not inferior. Oh, no, I don't have the police aren't looking for me. So that's just all part of maintaining the system. It's making you have to explain and justify your own existence, your own normalcy. So he was doing what he did,
Shouldn't be surprised. That's one thing I'll say about codification. Thank you for sharing this, Sir Anton. No black person should ever be surprised. I say this all the time. I don't care what the circumstance. You should never be surprised about a white person practicing racism. Never. I wouldn't care if it's a 3-year-old or a 103-year-old white person. You should not be caught off guard, particularly if you study racism, white supremacy seriously. You see the way that they treat President Obama, Michelle Obama on a daily basis. If that's the way that they would treat the president, you certainly know they will have no problem talking to you any old kind of way. So I can just only emphasize that. I think a big part of codification, and people have already talked about not being caught off guard, whatever the situation, a white person being racist, you shouldn't even bat an eyelash. I already know what this is.
So in other words, Gus, lions roar, dogs bark, white people practice racism by supremacy.
Amen. Amen.
That's true. And then, Gus, I'll tell you that I am a lot less surprised. I'm almost not surprised by anything after I watched at the Cynical Brother over there, watching some of the stuff that racist man and racist woman do when black people are not in the room. I'm just not surprised. It's like, yeah, that's right. 101 Dalmatians? Yeah, right on. Yeah, that's what you do.
Oh, I also wanted to ask B-More, if you're still on the line, did you have any thoughts based on what you've heard in the dialogue about whether you say the same thing to white people and non-white people or switching up? Because I thought that was important. I know I've heard other people share their thoughts on that, and some people say that a part of their code is to be consistent. They say the same thing, white, non-white. You've heard, kind of some of what we had to say. What were your views on the dialogue around that?
I think it was interesting to hear everybody else's views. I think I'm still going to remain the same.
Have you noticed any patterns when you talk to white people as opposed to non-white people? Have you noted any patterns in the way that people respond to you or things that people say?
Honestly, let me see, as far as patterns, no, because I would say different responses in different situations, but you would think that it would open up more dialogue and that white people would talk more and ask questions and things like that, but a lot of times it shuts them down. They don't want to get into it. So, I had noticed that as well. Instead of them asking questions, if you say anything about racism, they're like, oh, like they don't want to seem racist, when we all know, like, you're suspected racist, you're probably racist, things like that.
I have a question for the caller. I was making a statement a minute ago, and one of my children, they walked into the room, right? And it was just like walked into the room, told me what they needed me to do. You know, I had to put the phone on mute. Do you find dealing with racist man or racist woman kind of like dealing with children? Because I know my partner, when she's at work, she say that her and another black person could be talking, and the white people, or the racist man or the suspected racist, they just walk up in between them, ask for what they want, tell them what you want them to do, what they want you to do, and they act like you, the other person not even standing there. So I'm saying that dealing with racist man and racist woman, I find that it's kind of like dealing with children, but, you know, children with the power to, you know, make things really uncomfortable for you. Or, you know, even kill you if that's what they want to do.
I've actually heard that before, and I thought about that, and I can't remember what my conclusion was really, but I've heard that, and it's interesting. But I would say just thinking, I could be incorrect. But I'm not sure if I'm not saying, you know, what you're doing is incorrect. Like, I could be incorrect, but I'm just thinking, dealing with white, I would say that could be dangerous. I don't know if I see them as children, but I'm going to think about it. I just wanted to say that as my initial thoughts, but I have heard that before.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm here, I'm talking. She walks in, you know, I'm just thinking, if she got a big gun, hey, man, or attempted man, I need you to wash my face and wash my hands right now or die. You know, that's kind of like what it feels like sometimes.
What you're describing is a fact, and I've you know, talked to some parents, and I've told them that. I was like, your child, you know, at a certain age, they would eat you. If you were asleep and they just went in there and grabbed you and something, you know, pulled off of your skin, and they'll put it in their mouth and eat it, and it tastes good, they will continue. It wouldn't be like, oh, this is my mom or this is my dad, I love them, and by, you know, eating them is going to kill them. You know, they would just continue to eat because they don't have the, you know, they don't understand that would kill you. So I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, a powerful child is very, very dangerous at certain stages in their development, for sure.
Yeah, I just find similarities because, like I say, I'm not out there in that labor situation. So when I talk to my partner and I deal with my children, there's a lot of similarities the way, or maybe the non-white people, specifically the black people at the job, are being treated like children, you know, dismissed and, like I say, excluded. But the way that they act, the way that the suspected racist on the job, the way that she explained it to me, or even out in public when I do go out, you know, dealing with them is it's kind of like dealing with a child. You know, they just walk through you like you're not standing there, move, there's no excuse me, pardon me, you know, it's just point A to point B, and if you're in the way, you might get ran over. Or if I'm in the way, I may get run over.
I think there's a lot of resentment. At least I want to know if you guys notice there's a lot of resentment. I just sense some kind of a hidden resentment that things that white people feel that things have changed for them, that they're not free. And I hear different comments sometimes online and stuff that white people somehow feel corralled or you know, kind of, you know, held back from really expressing themselves, and and that perhaps some of the rudeness comes from a longing that they could treat black people the way black people used to be treated. It's almost like a resentment. I can't describe it any other way, but I think those movies sometimes, the resurgence of the good old days, the Happy Days TV show, when black people didn't have any kind of so-called rights. And I think that there's a lot of resentment the white people have, that they have to watch, they're supposed to watch their step around black people, that they're not supposed to. They show a lot of resentment about not being able to say racist things or make racist comments or crack racist jokes. They do a lot of complaining about having to be so-called politically correct. And I just think that that's something that you kind of see, and I suspect it's on the rise, because the messages are going out there that the system is trying to turn the so-called clock back. You know.
I'm starting to see evidence of the same thing on places like at work, because not only are white people having to watch their step around black people, but all over this country, you have in large numbers of non-white people in general coming in, and they're starting to recognize what black people have been saying for years. And so, and if they haven't recognized it, then black people are able to show them what's going on. Because, you know, before, certain groups of non-white people wouldn't talk to black folks, and black folks wouldn't talk to certain groups of non-white people. But in my case, having put myself around several different ethnic groups that are non-white, you will find that you have more in common with those folk than you do with white folk when it comes to when it comes to a personality and seeking justice and truth. You will find that white people are very unique, even though they set the standard. And what they're starting to realize is their standard is becoming less and less accepted all across the board when it comes to non-white people, and they really don't like it, and they're in territory that they don't understand. And for what I'm seeing, white people tend to get violent when they're not comfortable in an environment. They get violent. They don't know how to blend into it. They have to change it to fit what they want. They don't know how to harmonize with anything, if that makes any sense.
Yes,
but
I agree. They even Dr. I think it was Dr. Wells. I forget who described it. I think it was I can never say his name. Khalid Muhammad. I think he basically on the Phil Donahue show, and you can see it on YouTube. He was on. He did an episode. Well, he did a program on Phil Donahue show years and years ago, and he basically said the same thing, that no matter where you go, you're disagreeable. You know, you can't get along with anybody. So white people are very much, what do you call it, unbalanced, where they're around a large number of non-white people and they're not in control. And they can be around a lot of non-white people if they're running things, if they're in a position of authority or power or privilege. But when they're on an equal basis with non-white people, you can see it. You know, that's not their comfort level at all. You know, and when you look at these racist white shock jocks like Boris and Don Imus and Rush Limbaugh, that tells you a lot about what they really, you know, they really having a vicarious experience through these shock jocks who are able to say the things and do the things that they're not able to do. That's why I say there's kind of like a resentment that they don't have the freedom to openly mistreat non-white people, you know, like their grandfathers or fathers did, or mothers and grandmothers did. And, yeah.
Okay, well, if they did go back to using that language, everybody would know who the enemy is. And
well, refinement is a necessary part of maintaining the victim's cooperation.
I mean, that's the point. You have white people, it's an old, man, if you start researching some of these heavy racist white supremacists, eugenicists, and these people that had control over the school curriculum, and some of these people, man, that write these, it's all explicit. It's all in their writing. But see, the thing is, we don't know where to look. We don't know the names of these people. Most black people, you know what I'm saying? We don't even know to look for the names. We don't realize that they wrote letters and they wrote books and they explained exactly how they, what they plan to do. And if you follow you're gonna connect the dots right now and see the plan is going like perfectly, absolutely perfectly, masterfully. Okay, but you have these white people that are less refined. You know what I mean? They're mad at the more powerful white people that are refined, and it's an old battle. It's to kill them with kindness. Wolf in sheep's clothing. That's the more powerful racist white supremacists. That's their motto. That's where that comes from. That wolf in sheep's clothing. They have a whole philosophy surrounded by and scientific accuracy to a level that black people haven't. They don't understand at all. So that's what it is. You have, so that's what you're seeing is the less refined white people and the more refined white people saying shut the hell up. We know what we're doing. The plan is going perfect. You don't know the plan. You don't need to know the plan.
You're just a sheep in your own right.
And I think black people need to be able to describe this what's happening. So we're not confused or surprised by what we're seeing. That's exactly what's happening. I mean, like I said, I could be incorrect, but I'm sure. I mean, I've heard, Mr. Fuller talk about this. White people, having these battles with amongst themselves on how they're going to practice racism, white supremacy.
I was going to say that's what when you talk about communism versus capitalism versus socialism versus the Democrats and the Republicans, it all falls under the racism, white supremacy umbrella, and who's going to control it. So who's going to control it today? There is no ism. It's all racism, white supremacy. So that's the only ism. Racism.
I wanted to ask listeners, we got about 12 minutes left in the program. If any ideas or things you all want to get out before the end, still got about 12 minutes. I did just want to make sure to mention again, you got to expect the racism, white supremacy. If it's a white person, you should expect them to practice racism at some point. Maybe refined, maybe explicitly, but it should be expected. Films, same way, and just throwing in how consistent it is. That same sound clip, The Good Shepherd, they throw a pregnant black female out of a plane.
Oh, yeah. They did.
What's the message?
Wasn't that big a deal. If I remember correctly, it wasn't that big a deal.
And they got black people to do it. They got some, I believe there's other black males to throw a pregnant black female out of a plane once it had taken off. And she was she was pregnant by a white man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that. They kept circulating right on along, too, didn't they?
Yep, kept right on rolling.
Anything.
Well, I'll say that jumbo TVs equal life-size suspected racists in your house.
Or a life-size image of a black male in a dress. Or a black female being... Oh, that's another thing. Man, that television is off the chain. I would watch so much television and just take notes. If you watch basketball, white people are like going super hard. Like I've seen inside the NBA, just the post game program where they have Charles Barkley, Cowbell, married to a white woman, Shaquille O'Neal, and Kenny Smith. These are 3 black males. The program is hosted by a white man. I think since the season just started, they've only had 3 episodes. They've had a black male in a dress every program. The one yesterday, they had both Shaquille O'Neal in a dress and Charles Barkley in a dress, and they ended the program with a call-in. Oh, it was a tweet-in. They wanted people to tweet who looks better in a dress, Shaquille O'Neal or Charles Barkley. And I think Charles Barkley, he just hosted Saturday Night Live this past weekend, and they had him in a dress on Saturday Night Live, and they were playing the footage from him being in a dress on Saturday Night Live. But that's how they ended the broadcast. Who looks better in a dress? Shaquille O'Neal, these 2 huge black males. Who looks better in a dress? White people going super hard in 2012.
Yeah, they sure are. They sure are. You know, that new, I don't know if you guys mentioned it earlier, but the movie, a remake of Beauty and the Beast, is coming out. The animated form of Beauty and the Beast. And when I glanced at the commercial, I heard some words, and I looked, and a brown hand was holding onto a white female's hand. And all you could see was the brown hand coming toward the white female's hand. I mean, they're coming at us hard, seriously. They're coming at us hard. If you look at television, you don't see nothing but stereotype, degradation, stereotype, interracial sex. It's like those are 3 major things, and they're coming at us hard because we are on the ropes, and they're moving in for the knockout punch. Because we're on the ropes. We're not even fighting back. We're buying the stuff. We're laughing. We're sitting there. We're imitating it. We're not fighting back. So when you got your opponent on the ropes and the clock is running out, you want to get them down on the mat once and for all.
I mean, in so-called hard economic times, you know, that's what the Romans did. I mean, this goes back, you know, to the Romans and Greeks and whatnot, is that they would put on these gladiator type of things in the you know, the arenas so the people wouldn't, you know, riot and whatnot. And even in the 20s, you know, it was a lot of entertainers really became famous because people were, you know, they were hungry and whatnot, and that's when this whole this entertainment kind of took off during these depressed times. And I think the height of white people's enjoyment is like the menstrual days, you know what I mean? Where so that's what you're seeing. You know, it's like the more powerful, refined white supremacists is like, I know you white people, I know y'all hungry and whatnot, and y'all complaining, but we gonna give you Shaquille O'Neal in a dress. We gonna give you Shaq in a dress. We gonna give you Charles Barkley in a dress. Everybody gonna be in a dress. That's what we gonna give you.
You know that you make a very good point. I mean, when you think, I didn't think about the circus instead of the bread. You know, just give them circus. You know, if they're starving, let them eat cake. And where's the cake that they want to eat? But plus, I think they want to do what Dr. Welsing talked about, and that was what happened with the Jews in Nazi Germany was their images became so distasteful that when they moved against the Jews, nobody cared. You know, they're worthless anyway, so let's get rid of them. And I look at these acceleratingly bad images, and now look at a lot of the television commercials now. The black women are all non-white with white parents. Almost every single black woman in a commercial now is a racially ambiguous woman. I can't remember the last time. I think I've seen a couple of brown and dark-skinned women, but they're in a vast minority of black women on television now, particularly in commercials. And it's almost like they're telling black people, you know, go ahead and breathe. Breathe these superior-looking people. Breathe. You know, these are the authentic blacks here. These are the new blacks. All that brown and dark-skinned stuff, that's passé. You don't want to create any children who look like that.
Would anybody on the line be interested in a list of names of some of the most, you know, powerful scientists in the history and of races of this system, the founders and the architects of this system. Would anybody be interested in that, or
you could shoot it to me in an email. You got a link or an article?
I mean, Gus was talking about sharing research. This is something that I'm researching, and I'm just for myself. But I just was wondering if anybody else. I mean, if anybody thought would like to have it. Once I complete it or whatnot.
I'm interested in it, like a Margaret Sanger, that kind of person.
But it's a lot. Yeah, it's some names that I'm sure you haven't heard. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's like that. Yeah, but just like that. And
I'd be interested. Trojan Horse. Go to my website and you can send me a site bill.
Oh yeah, I just was asking in general. Do people would think that would be a good idea to compile such a list?
Yeah, I'd be interested in it.
Yeah, just getting some feedback. I mean, I'm gonna do it anyway, but yeah, I'm finding out some interesting things. And basically, what I'm finding out is that they've said explicitly what they're gonna do. It's all man. It's sick. I mean, they're mathematic and complete. This is not something that's haphazard. This is not haphazard, and we ain't seen nothing yet.
I think it is happening right now. Like, I think Gus was talking to somebody on one of the shows I was listening to where they was talking about New Orleans and how it was the 1919, the Red Summer, and he was talking to an author, and the guy was saying it could never happen again, and Gus was explaining that this thing is happening right now. People from all over Louisiana was going to New Orleans, and the white guy, or the suspected racist, he was like, no, it could never happen. And Gus was like, no, it's happening now. It happened at Katrina. And he was like, no, it could never happen. I'm like, no, this is happening now. On a Facebook page, somebody posted something about the percentage of black males that's in jail now is higher than the percentage of black males that were in jail shortly after slavery. And it's happening now. Like 200-300 years from now, they'll probably look back at this time and be like, "Boy, we got those black people good. They didn't even know. We got them. They were in it." So as we're talking now, that's that system. That's that prison system being fed. From schools to prisons. I mean, we won't be here to see it, but when they look back on this time, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, we had them. We got them good." I mean, 1919, 2004, same thing.
I mean, they did specific things. They did specific things to get us in the conditions that we are in right now. And I think, if we understand, what was done, we can undo it. Yeah, so when somebody says that it's racism, white supremacy is going to be here another 1,000 years, you know what I'm saying? What they, that's what they're saying is that, man, we don't know, it's going to take us 1,000 years to figure out, why we keep, why this is going on and on and on, why we keep doing the same thing over and over again, and surprised when the same thing happens. Like, how do they get us that way? So we need to know exactly what they, I don't know if I could be incorrect, but I'm sure we need to get some type of understanding of that. Yeah, you got to understand the system. What do they do? The system, and how do they create us? We're monsters and monstrosities. What does that mean? How can we describe it? And what are the behaviors, and how do we get to behaving this way?
Yeah, I think Dr. Claude Anderson does a good job of explaining. When he did that meritorious manumission the 4 ways for enslaved African to get free, and that 1638 Maryland Doctrine of Exclusion, how those were, it's 300-400 years ago, but it still applies.
It's happening all over the world. I get emails from a black male that's living all over the world, and Russia, Europe, Scandinavian countries, and he talks endlessly about the slaughter of black people all over the world. So it's happening right now. It's happening here. Despite the fact that we have black NBA players, it's happening here. It's happening everywhere. And
well, I guess I better start going outside again to get my 1,000.
Have a counter-racist effort. Get as many non-white people as you can. Less confused, more informed, have information ready to give out, books, films, whatever you think would be constructive, websites, basics, 10. I said, you can think about it. If you think it's 20 things they should know, if you think it's 15, 7, have specific things, fundamentals that you think every non-white person they should understand about the world we live in, dominated by white supremacy. We're at the 3-hour mark, although I do want to try and do programs like this on a regular basis to give people a chance to call in. Just, as I said, to get comfortable having dialogue around racism, white supremacy with terms, definitions, ideas, techniques, experiences people have had on the job. I think it would be constructive. So I do want to try and do this regularly. Maybe we can do one again next Friday evening. But we will be back this Sunday. Dr. Francis Cress-Welsing, 7 p.m. Sunday evening. That would be January 15th. And this Monday evening, Sarah Burns, she'll be here. We'll be talking about the Central Park rape case, black males falsely accused of raping a white woman. Should be constructive. And also, Pam, she wanted folks to know if you have stories being in a sexual relationship with a white person when you were more confused, we would like to share. So if you don't feel comfortable calling in to share that information, you can email me, untiljustice@gmail.com. You can shoot an email to Pam, info@trojanhorse1.com. But feel free. You can remain anonymous just to send the information in. I think it would be important for non-white people to be honest, not keep white people's secrets around the tackiness, trashiness that we have encountered, endured, know about in tragic arrangements, gutter sex with white people. If anyone would like to do our prayer before we conclude, that will be a wrap. Any volunteers out of the folks that are on the call now to do the prayer to close us out? No one for the prayer. No one for the prayer.
I could say some words if nobody objects. I don't know if I would call it a prayer, but I do have so I mean, if that's okay.
That is cool with me.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider this a prayer, but we have a tradition that I was raised with. It's basically, the way natives so-called prayed is that they, visualized what it was that they wanted, and that was how they, it was like it was already a reality. So I would just say that black people and non-white people are coming to the realizations, of what happened to them. They're finding out what was done to them, and they're starting to reverse the process. They're starting to understand the system a lot better, and their understanding is a constructive understanding. It's the type of understanding that's going to tear the system down. That's going to replace the system with a system of justice. And we're becoming more comfortable talking to one another about racism, white supremacy. We're learning different techniques and most excellent techniques on how to get our message across. We have several different ways to relay the exact same message. Yeah, we know what we need to do. We know, and we're finding out what it is that we have to do. So when we communicate in the most efficient and effective ways. That's the only form of communication that black people and non-white people will accept and are accepting of. And yeah, that's I could go on, but I don't want to speak too much longer.
Right on. Replace white supremacy with justice as soon as possible. Get your 1,000.
If anyone is ignorant about racism, it's black people.